604, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing, getting you ready for Friday's show, getting you ready to take you into the weekend. We are off and running here, 77 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge to start off your Friday morning. All right, a lot of ground to cover this morning. We got the governor coming on. We're going to be talking Israel and Iran, and, well, even though there's a ceasefire, potential ramifications in a number of ways. Security, energy. We'll be covering both of those topics on the show today. We're checking down in New Orleans with Michael Hacht from Geno Inc. Look at what they've done to fight crime down in New Orleans. Crime numbers are down here in Baton Rouge, but they're way down in New Orleans. What can we be doing that they're doing? We'll check in with Michael Hacht in the 8 o'clock hour. We got Pennington coming on today. We got Bally's and the Queen coming on for Foodie Friday. We got a full load for you. Let's start off with top stories and trending.
Number 5.
Second disturbance of the Atlantic hurricane season. This time the Bay of Campeche. And over the next 7 days, there's a 20% chance that we will see a named storm. There's an area of showers and thunderstorms currently over the northwestern Caribbean Sea. Adjacent land areas expected to move, It's expected to move west-northwest into the Bay of Campeche tomorrow. Possible development into a storm on Monday or Tuesday. Right now it's a low chance, but this is one of those ones we have seen in recent years in early parts of hurricane season where a storm doesn't have to develop out in the Atlantic or off the coast of Africa. You pop right up there in the Caribbean.
Number 4.
Breck's interim superintendent, Janet Simmons, has appointed Maurice Velasquez as interim chief operating officer and Johanna Landry as interim human resources officer, both of those effective immediately. We're going to be talking with Janet early next week, probably Maurice and Johanna shortly after that. Talking mission, direction, yeah, they're interim, but where can they take Breck in the meanwhile?
Number 3.
Planned Baton Rouge 3 is hosting its next community meeting on Wednesday, July 16th at the Old State Capitol. Attendees can explore early downtown redevelopment ideas, view exhibits, and share input. The open house runs from 5 to 7:30 p.m.
Number 2.
Louisiana's Attorney General said yesterday she officially filed a review of federal court's decision to rule a law that would require Louisiana schools to display the Ten Commandments as unconstitutional. AG's office said the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals 3-judge panel, quote, directly rejected the Fifth Circuit's own precedents and precedents from other circuits and the Supreme Court when it ruled against the law last week.
Number 1.
A man accused of killing his former domestic partner outside of Our Lady of the Lake Medical Center back in March has formally been charged in her murder. 60-year-old Roland Domino was indicted for second-degree murder for the killing of 58-year-old hospital employee Patricia Jackson, who was shot and killed back on March 19th. What's trending, John?
Fireballs, Brian.
Bro.
A giant fireball was spotted in the sky over Georgia yesterday. It turned out to be a meteorite that exploded over Oxford, just east of Atlanta.
So, meteor is falling to the sky. Meteorite is what hits the ground. Do I have my definitions right?
I believe so.
Do I remember my, 7th grade, whatever, earth sciences class?
Oh, I just remember from Joe Dirt where he's like, I got this meteorite.
That's a dookie.
That's a space peanut.
That is one of the best parts, underrated part of that movie.
So good. But no,
better than him naming all the fireworks. Which, by the way,
oh yeah,
I hope she's not listening yet. I bought a T-shirt off the TikTok shop to wear on 4th of July.
Oh man,
and it's all the joke. Like, you telling me you're gonna stand there owning a fireworks stand? You ain't got no whistling kitty chasers, no Husker do's, Husker don'ts.
Yeah, exactly.
With or without the scooter stick.
Yeah. So good. Oh man, but no, this footage I seen. I mean, it
happens quick.
It's alarming, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's terrifying.
It is very terrifying and does happen very fast.
Yes.
Now, as I understand it, little pieces hit the ground. The big thing exploded, and it exploded like what did they say? Something. The number of pounds of TNT that was the equivalent of the explosion.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and get the exact numbers on that. But nonetheless, it's still
just east of Atlanta. So
yes.
All right.
Well, bringing it back home locally, dash cam video from a driver in Livingston Parish showed the moment an electrical worker was hit by the top of an 18-wheeler passing under the traffic signal. This happened in Denham on Range the
Did
other
you
day.
see this footage?
Yeah.
The 18-wheeler hits the guy
Yeah.
in the bucket truck.
Yeah. Terrifying.
And as I understand it, he went to the ER for a couple hours and then got sent home.
Oh, really?
Like they took him to the hospital, took him right home. He wasn't.
Guess no major damage done.
Yeah. Nothing major.
Traumatizing to say the least.
Oh,
though,
yeah.
man. Good thing he's strapped in.
Yeah.
Guy's hanging upside down.
Yep.
Whew. Well, the honors keep rolling in for the College World Series most outstanding player. LSU pitcher Cade Anderson was named Baseball America's College Pitcher of the Year on Thursday.
Gotta love that.
Yeah.
Anderson, keep on racking up the awards right there. Hopefully leading all the way up to a first overall draft pick. Loving that.
Hopefully so. Yeah,
Loving
this is
that.
great.
We got to get him in studio, man.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
who I need to connect for that because he's gone, obviously, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know if he's in Baton Rouge, we need to get him in here. If he's not in Baton Rouge, I need to track him down. Maybe have to pull out the old St. Paul's Wolves connections.
Yeah. Who knows? You know what I mean? This show's reaching right. Someone out there might hear this, pass it along.
Well, I mean, we can actually call people. I mean, we know our we know folks in the athletic office over at LSU.
Yeah.
My thing is like, is he in town,
Right?
or did he go back home to Madisonville?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Either way, hit us up on the line.
611. Oh, wait, it's not random, John. We know people.
No,
It's
hit us
not
up
random.
on the line. You know.
611 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hey, coming up later on in the show, we are going to have the folks from Bally's Casino, which their restaurants are on the way, and the Queen Casino, whose restaurants are already here, going to be in the house for Foodie Friday. And, of course, Foodie Friday is presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. You can check them out online at beefitswhatsfordinner.com. Beefitswhatsfordinner.com. Beef provides all of us with protein, with iron, with 10 other vitamins and nutrients that act as fuel for your body at all stages of life. Okay? Young, old, anywhere in between. Beef is, when you eat, food is fuel. And beef has a lot in that fuel. Check it out online, beefitswhatsfordinner.com. Of course, the great folks at the Louisiana Beef Industry Council team up with us every summer for Foodie Friday, all summer long, all throughout grilling season. Looking forward to some, I believe it's Polynesian steak today. Yeah, can't get enough. Beefitswhatsfordinner.com. Sports is next. Coffee's next.
Good morning, Facebook. What's going on out there?
.615, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. It is sports time, and NBA draft wrapped up last night with round 2. We'll get to that in a little bit. Want to start off, though, with what's going on up in Natchitoches this week. This is the big weekend in Natchitoches, y'all. Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame taking in their 2025 class. The official induction is going to be tomorrow night. This year's class, headlining it, Nick Saban and Catholic High's Dale Weiner. Delgado's Joe Schurman, the winningest baseball coach in state history, is in this class as well. Cut 10.
Good players make good coaches. I'm not here because I'm a good coach. I'm here because I had some great players, some great assistant coaches, great support. My wife, my children, they're Hall of Famers too.
You got 2 former pro basketball all-stars, Danny Granger and Vicki Johnson, also joining the class. Johnson helped Louisiana Tech to the Final Four as a freshman, was a 2-time Sun Belt Conference MVP, a player in the WNBA's inaugural season. Johnson says she learned a lot from Hall of Fame coaches Leon Barmore and, of course, Kim Mulkey.
It's about being disciplined and being consistent in what you do and believe in yourself. Believe in yourself no matter what. Winning or losing, the game is not about that. It's about learning.
Meanwhile, longtime St. Thomas More basketball coach Danny Broussard also going to be inducted. Broussard's the 6th all-time winningest high school basketball coach in the country. 42 years at the helm over there in Lafayette. He has led the Cougars to 34 straight playoff appearances, won 6 state basketball championships. Broussard says he learned early in his career how to make an average player great.
And they were going to work hard. I knew that, but not that much talent. So I said, man, for us to survive, I think we have to be a fundamentally sound team. And so I've based my whole philosophy about the fundamentals of basketball.
Also headlining the class, we got former LSU offensive tackle and Super Bowl champ Andrew Whitworth, 14-time All-American LSU gymnast April Burkholder, former NCAA champion boxer and Sacred Heart football coach George Swallow as well. So big weekend up in Natchitoches as all that will be going on this weekend. The second round of the NBA draft was last night. No real headlines from it. There rarely is anything big coming out of the second round. The Pels traded out of their second round pick, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't see them on here. I'm sorry. No, they're there right there. They picked up Micah Peavy. All right. Yeah, so they traded into the second round. Picked up Micah Peavy. He's a wing, according to ESPN, solid size, defends with high-level intensity, made notable strides in three-point shooting as a fifth-year senior. Peavy coming in from Georgetown, 6'6". So they get a point guard and a big on the first night, and then a wing / three-point shooter on the second night. Wrapping up the Pels draft. The Pels draft, by the way, was just ridiculed by national media. Specifically trading up 10 picks to go get Derek Queen and giving up an unconditional first-round pick. Unconditional meaning if it's the number 1 in the lottery, they still got to give it up. Putting no protections on that pick. That's what got the ire of the national media. I was listening to Live at Lunch yesterday, Odd and Hanny, over on 104.5 ESPN. They had Ali Cassell on talking about it, and he was basically saying, yeah, that's everybody's take, but this was the first time in a long time. This is a valid take. This is the first time in a long time we've seen the Pelicans get aggressive and go after who they want, as opposed to sitting back and letting the draft come to them. So maybe there's something to that. 6:20. Here comes the Fox Business Report. All right, you got it ending right before. Okay. It's quiet up here this morning. No Condon. No Scott. Time to head back to the Shawbills Tire Traffic Center, see what we got going on the streets of Baton Rouge to start off your Friday morning. And it is pretty light, y'all. Nothing major going on the interstates right now. You are going to find a little bit of congestion on 12 westbound. And I don't mean congestion. I just mean volume. I mean, somebody might be next to you that you can wave to. That's about the extent of it. 12 westbound coming across the Amy River Bridge. That's the only spot on the interstates where you're going to find anything going on this morning. 10 westbound's great. 10 eastbound's great. Coming in from Ascension and West Baton Rouge, respectively. I-110 is wide open. I will tell you that while I-10 westbound is looking good through the heart of Baton Rouge, there was an accident about an hour ago that has since been pushed off to the side of the road. There was an accident about an hour ago on I-10 westbound in between College and Acadian. Now, I'm not showing any delays as a result of that. I'm just letting you know that it's on the board, so I do report it. Surface streets, there's nothing on the board, so we'll go ahead and lock it out, telling you that's the look at traffic from the Shawbills Tire Traffic Center. .624, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. We're still looking at 77 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge to start off your Friday morning. Coming up in our next segment, we're going to talk a little Israel and Iran. Yeah, there's a ceasefire going on right now. But, and there's a lot of buts when you're talking about Iran, but the U.S. did strike Iran. And while we saw a retaliation in Qatar, is that it? Iran sponsors terrorism quite frequently. Here in America, what should we be on the lookout for? Paul Viollis is our security expert and our terrorism expert, and we are going to talk to him in our next segment. Also this hour, we got the folks from Lake Urgent Care stopping by at 6:50. Right now, though, Insurance Commissioner Tim Temple was talking with our news partners over at the Louisiana Radio Network. I'm going to tell you about what he's talking about in just a minute. Got to remind you about the folks at Breck, though. Breck.org is the website, breck.org. Whatever it is you're interested in, Breck's got you covered. Whatever it is you're interested in, Breck wants you to just get up off the sofa, get out and do a couple things, right? Like run down what your interests are. They've got you there. In fact, go to breck.org. Right there on the homepage, it says, I'd like to, and then there's a colon. Type in your interest, whatever it is that you've got going. Whether you're talking about any sports that are out there, basketball, pickleball, softball, kickball, rugby, tennis, they've got you covered there. When it comes to like arts and culture, they've got you covered on that front as well. There's the Breck Art going on. There's a Breck Theater going on. They've got you covered on that front. Health and wellness, they can help you out there. Check out the calendar while you're at breck.org. You'll learn there's so much going on. It's one of my favorite things about Breck is they've got to be all things to all people. Man, they're doing their level best with that. And it starts at breck.org. So Tim Temple was talking about the need for a special session to tackle what he calls the deepest insurance crisis in state history. While the lawmakers just went home on June 12th, that was 2 weeks ago? He says, it's not out of the realm of possibility to call them back.
There's still a lot of work that needs to be done with regards to legal and insurance reform, and I think that the best legislative mechanism is a special session.
Which Tim has been on the show so many times over the past 2 years talking about exactly that. And I've been a big proponent of it as well, to say that until you give insurance its own special, you're not going to be able to play catch up the way you need to. A lot got done this session. I'm not trying to discredit what legislators got done, but there's still a lot left on the table. You had HB 345 calling for a 60-day notice before cancellation by insurance companies. You had SB 136 calling for rate transparency. These are things that would affect could affect the insurance market right here in Louisiana, along with a lot of tort reform measures that got passed as well.
One of the best ways to do that is through a general damage cap. So there's a lot of things that can help.
By the way, go back to the HB 345. It goes into effect, what's today, the 27th? It goes into effect, I believe, on July 1st. So early next week. SB 136 doesn't take effect for another couple of years. Looking back on the past legislative session, Temple says one of the things he's most excited about was the passage of House Bill 431, moving Louisiana from a pure to a modified comparative fault. That's Emily Chenever's bill.
limits the ability for a person to recover that's mostly at fault for the cause of the accident. And that's a real good common sense bill.
Now, while I agree with the insurance commissioner, and I wholeheartedly agree with the insurance commissioner that we're not done here, never going to be done with it, you got to stay on top of the game because the game's always changing. And I also agree that while we're still trying to play catch up with other states, it does demand a special session. I don't think while the need for a special session is there, I don't think the want right now is there, because you had from the time that this most recent freshman class, from the time of the most recent elections to our state legislature till now, they went through 4 or 5 sessions last year. You had the session on tax reform. You had the crime session. You had the remapping, the congressional district mapping, and then you had the regular last year. And now you're just coming off the heels of this fiscal this year. Is there a want to reconvene at the Capitol? I asked this to Speaker Philip de Villiers, what was it, late last week when we had him on? Was it last Friday, I believe? Okay, had him on last Friday, and I asked him, I'm like, y'all just wrapped up. Does everybody want to, come right back to Baton Rouge? And he said there's been, the governor has mentioned the possibility of another special session to address a few things that were left on the table before at the end of the session. How much desire is there for another special session? Because, man, over the last 2 years, y'all have been together a lot.
Yeah, and look, that's a fair question. I would say that members really and truthfully appreciate being home, being with their families, being back at work, trying to make a living, trying to be back in their districts and hearing from their constituents. I would say with all that, there's not a whole lot of desire to go back to Baton Rouge and into another session right now, and that's understandable.
It's a part-time job. That's a point to remember right there. It is a part-time job. And that being said, while they were here a lot last year, I mean, maybe they might want to look at this again September, October, right? Maybe they might want to look at this again once they've been home for a little while. In the meanwhile, though, you heard it there from the speaker. It's just the desire to do it probably isn't there. And if you don't have the want, you're not going to get anything done. So while I do still agree with Insurance Commissioner Tim Temple that the need is there, well, you kind of in that you can lead a horse to water sort of scenario right there. We got news, traffic, weather coming your way. On the back end of that, we got Paul Viollis going to join us next. Let's talk security. Let's talk about the possibility of terrorism, specifically from Iran. Yeah.
So it looks like BRPD's getting a reality show. Yeah. Very cool. studio. Hi, yes, this Mr. Paul? Mr. Viollis. Yes, sir. Good morning. Would you like to speak to him now, or you're set to... Okay. Okay, I just didn't know if you needed to speak to him before the interview. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, we'll have you up here in just a few minutes. Thank you, sir. Yeah, he started off, may I speak to Brian, please? I'm like, okay, well, I mean, just making sure. Did he say his last name? Viollis? Is it Vi or V? Let me check. I can check. I can double check. All right, yeah. All right, Mr. Is it Viollis or Viollis? I'm sorry if I apologize. Okay, no problem. Yeah. We're coming up to a break right now. We'll have you on in about a minute. Thank you. It's Viollis. I just asked him for my sake. Okay. I say, hey, thank you for holding. I just kind of turned into basically.
I know I got it right the last time, but I don't like he's on so infrequently with.
Yeah. It's that long.
I'm showing 46. We got Vex European in there, so 46 is going to be my out because I do need to do. I got to stay on time with the live reads today.
Okay.
Because I got to make up Baton Rouge Airport from yesterday.
Gotcha.
I already made up Breck from yesterday.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Oh. 638 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We got to keep it moving quickly this morning as I just such a busy schedule today. So as Israel and Iran were battling, the U.S. stepped in. What's the possibility of retaliation specifically here on our soil? What's the possibility of this trickling over to terrorism? Let's talk about it. Paul Viollis he's our expert when we go to these topics, and he joins us right now. Paul, how are you, man?
Hey, good morning, Brian. It was great to join you.
I love having you on. You bring really great insight to these conversations. So let's talk about it. We're looking at a ceasefire right now. That's all fine and good on an official level. But we know things can sometimes get a little unofficial. How heightened should our level of alert be right now?
Our biggest concern, Brian, will be the highest probability of risk coming out of Iran, and that's an asymmetric approach. So let's not be fooled by this kind of preemptively broadcasted bombing in Qatar. That was more a symbolic response than it was anything else. What we're concerned about, and what we certainly should be concerned about, let me say that, is Iran's capability, not just directly but indirectly, of striking the United States back here on American soil for two reasons. One, financially. They do have the ability to shut down the Red Sea and the Strait of Hormuz. Now, what does that mean to all of your listeners? It means that when you're going to go to the store, you're not going to see all those paper goods because the tankers and the barges aren't going to get through to get here. So that's going to cause problems. And they have the ability to do that. That's probably in process right now. Only they know. But it's a high probability they'll go down that road. And the second part, Brian, is loss of life. We did a great job after 9/11 by buttoning up the country, but we've also stuck our heads in the sand since then. They know that. Iran has extremely strong ties with both Al-Qaeda and ISIS. This was also a phenomenal recruitment video for the disenfranchised in the United States via the internet and the terrorists that recruit them. So we're in for something here. It's just a matter of when. But yeah, that's the highest probability risk against us is American soil.
So the Strait of Hormuz would be on the official level. I'm honestly, Paul, more concerned about that indirect level that Iran being in the past a sponsor of terrorism and their connections there. Well, when you bring up the number of people who are already here in America, talk to me on timeline about what that takes in order for them to recruit, activate. I don't know what the right word would be there in order to trigger someone to act against this country within this country.
Well, the way and understanding that, Brian, really requires just a minute to understand and explain the business model, if you will, of Islamic radicalism. And their timeline is not our timeline. As Americans, this is broken, fix it. This is something we need to do, get it done. For the most part, we're kind of instantaneous kind of people. Islamic radicalists are not like that. They're on a different clock. They want shock value, and especially the sleeper cells that are here in this country. We don't know how many there are, and that's a fact. I wish we did, but we don't. And we don't know where they're at. We know that they're really good at assimilating into communities, as the local whatever, restaurant owner or something inside a community that you're not going to suspect them. You're going to like them. And they play that. They're very good at that. And that's what we're looking at right now. So as far as the timeline, this clock started way before this bombing. This is a catalyst to say this, for them to say, this is why we must strike. Now, they've been advertising death to America for a long time. We all know that. They do have the capability. We did leave borders open. They did come in the country. We haven't monitored them. These are all facts. It's not a political statement. And last but not least, Brian, we're supposed to be right around 1.3 million in law enforcement in the country and right around 700,000. So it's a fact. We're underrepresented there. This is the part that really concerns me. After 45 years of government service, this is the part that concerns me.
Look, we're short by more than 100 right here in Baton Rouge. So yeah, everyone feels those effects, to be sure. Paul, elaborate for me on the sleeper cell aspect of this, because look, on the sidelines, this sounds like the stuff of movies, man. How do we take what we might recognize from the film, but make it look more like what we would expect in reality?
Well, the thing that you really need to keep your eye on are people that ask a lot of questions that they shouldn't be asking, show up in places they really don't belong, be more attentive to subjects that you wouldn't think they would be, but also become easily irritated when you press the buttons on America, Middle East, religion, things like that. And those are things that historically Islamic radicalists that have been inserted inside, our culture and on American soil have shown their wares on just by the manner in which they respond to certain things. So it's a difficult, very difficult, Brian, question to answer only because it's such a moving target and it's so fluid. They have studied our culture. We are inherently trusting people.
Right.
We see the guy across the street, Brian. We see the guy across the street and we say, hey, he's a nice guy. I like that guy. And we have no idea who that guy is. And that's how we are. So they play that vulnerability.
Well, look, and I call on you for expertise in security, expertise on terrorism. I don't call on you for expertise in human resources. I mean, that's somebody else's department to make sure that the workplace doesn't have a level of distrust. But it does get down to that individual human level, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And, credit what credit is due. I mean, I've been in this game since the mid-'80s. God, when I say that, it makes me realize how old I am. But, I mean, that's how far back I go with the world of Islamic radicalism. And it hasn't changed, Brian. I mean, that's the thing. It's highly predictable. But we just don't, as a country, do a good enough job at educating the public as to when we say, if you see something, say something. Mm-hmm. Well, the general public's scratching their head saying, all right, what is something? Like, what am I supposed to see that I'm supposed to say something about? We need to improve that. What are the red flags? And I remember when you and I, years ago, when we covered that shooting in Orlando, that terrorist accident in Orlando, and one of the things we learned there was this guy was loved and revered in his community, and yet he was radicalized 6 years before that. And he had shown signs. This guy was a licensed security guard. He had shown signs, but people didn't pay attention to it. So in answer to the question, Brian, I mean, there are a lot of telltale signs about someone's behavior. Mm-hmm. And instead of being so trusting, maybe we kind of need to look at things with a jaundiced eye right now more than before.
Last one before I get you out of here, and I always appreciate your time, Paul. Last one before I get you out of here is kind of the most cynical of the questions. There's no real timeline on something like this. There's no real timeline from the outside looking in on terrorism.
Shock value.
Okay.
It's return on investment. So 4th of July celebration. Things that are going to get global attention in cities and locations that will get global attention. And those are the highest probabilities of risk. It's shock value. Remember, real quickly, the terrorists on 9/11 did their due diligence at those airports. They knew who were the most weak and vulnerable, and that's how they penetrated. And they picked them intentionally. They picked the sites because they knew it was going to get the shock value. So that's what we're looking for right now. At least we should be.
He is Paul Viollis from Viollis Group International. We always appreciate the time, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure. Have a good day, Brian.
You do the same. You hate to have that reminder that close to 4th of July, but you kind of want that reminder that close to 4th of July, especially when, I don't know if y'all saw recently, there was somebody put out, Newsweek, I think it was, put out a map showing the U.S. states that were most likely to be subject to a nuclear attack. And that doesn't necessarily mean like we just have targets here. That doesn't necessarily mean an attack by foreigners on our soil. That could just mean a soft target in our backyard. There's 3 in Louisiana. We got a break. Checking your traffic, checking your money now. Coming back with Lake Urgent Care next. I want to say it was Waterford, Riverbend, and Barksdale. So 2 nuclear plants and an Air Force base. Good morning, Christy. I hope Christy's in this morning. I knew I wasn't going to get out for 46. I told myself get out for 46. I knew I wasn't getting out for 46.
It was good. I could see how that one was a tough one to just kind of reel in.
Oh, yeah, I didn't want to bail before 50.
Yeah.
But we got Lake Urgent Care on the back end, and they're a sponsor.
Yeah. But it was good. That went quick. I find that went really quick. Studio. Oh, no, this is John. Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm the producer here. So. Yeah. Sorry, I should probably clarify that. No, I'm just some guy. Just hanging around. Oh, it's all good. No, we are too, to be honest. All right, Miss Debbie. And what was your last name? I'm sorry. All right. Awesome. Well, yes, ma'am. We'll have you up here in about another minute or two. All right. Thank you.
.652 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. The time to check in with the folks over at Lake Urgent Care. This morning we're talking with Debbie Accardo. She's a regional account executive. Looking for an update this morning, talking about a little bit about total occupational medicine. Debbie, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great, Brian. I'm excited to be here.
Glad to have you on. Especially to be talking about this. For those who aren't familiar, tell us a little bit of overall, just the 10,000-foot view about total occupational medicine.
Okay, we've been in business for over 40 years in the occupational health space. We work with companies across Baton Rouge, Livingston, Ascension, and surrounding areas. Mm-hmm. We partner with businesses of all sizes, whether you have 5 employees or 500, to keep teams healthy, safe, and ready for work. We do injury care, screenings, regulatory support. We focus on making healthcare simple and effective for employers. Mm-hmm. We've also we're partners with the Lake Urgent Care, so your team can easily have access to networks across our clinics. And we have walk-in care for occupational services and urgent care under one roof.
All right. So, and from a business owner's perspective, this is important because, I mean, summertime especially, there's just, well, I don't know that there's ever a time where there's not a lot going on, but summertime there can be it can be busy for a lot of industries. So how does Total Occupational Medicine support businesses during the summer months?
Well, summer brings a lot of seasonal hires and extra shifts.
Mm-hmm.
So we help them get in fast, easy, onboarding, physicals, drug screens, DOT exams, you name it. We also help businesses prepare for common warm weather risks like dehydration, health, exhaustion, and overexertion. Everything we do is designed to help companies stay productive while making their people safe and healthy.
Yeah, just summertime, we have a lot of outside jobs that can be an added risk. And then, of course, it's turnaround season as well, which contributes to the level of activity. The partnership with Lake Urgent Care, let's talk about that from y'all's perspective, but more to the point from the business owner's perspective. How does y'all's partnership with Lake Urgent Care businesses benefit the businesses y'all serve?
Well, and with the partnership, we the employees have access to 14 urgent care locations that offer occupational health services, open daily, including weekends. We're open late hours. We're open typically to 8 or 9 o'clock at night, 7 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. We take in walk-ins. Since we have so many locations, they're near probably most everyone's houses. We can get the employees in quick and treated quickly and back to work fast. It gives you a peace of mind knowing that they're being seen at reputable clinics, and we have consistent reporting and follow-up care.
Okay, and this is the biggest point of differentiation right here, is that this is not like sending them to a separate clinic or sending someone to an ER. What are the differing points right there? What are the separating points that make this avenue the more preferable avenue for a business owner?
Well, unlike the ER, we specialize in occupational medicine. Our providers understand workplace needs and return to work requirements. Our team includes licensed professionals who are experienced in regulatory and compliance standards. Every business we work with gets a dedicated business development representative, someone like me,
mm-hmm.
who really takes the time to understand your specific industry and help solve any issues you have. We don't just set it and forget it. We stay in touch, adapt with your business. We make sure your employees are getting top quality care. Plus, our clinics are faster and more affordable than going to the ER, and we focus on getting your employees the right care without the wait.
Got just a couple minutes left with Debbie Accardo, Regional Account Executive for Total Occupational Medicine. 40 years in the business, Debbie, that gives y'all a little bit of a background, a little bit of understanding of how to adapt to individual businesses that come to you. Kind of, I don't want to say you have a game plan already set, but you kind of know where you're going before they get there.
Yes, we do. And we treat work injuries really quickly and carefully. We always have a goal of getting employees back to work safely and efficiently. Our return to work plans are tailored to the job
mm-hmm.
so that we support both recovery and productivity. We're big on prevention too, offering guidance, training, and even customized programs to reduce risk before an injury happens.
See, that's the part we always overlook, isn't it? Is like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Rather than with Total Occupational Medicine, yeah, you want the help there when you need the help, but you would rather stay preventative and avoid the need for the help altogether.
That's right. That's correct.
Before we get you out of here, just a quick reminder, where can folks go to learn more? How can they contact you? What do they need to do?
Okay, you can visit www.totalocmed.com and click on Partner with Us,
mm-hmm.
and you can just sign up. We have all the forms online. You can also follow us on Facebook to stay in the loop with seasonal health reminders and tips. Whether it's onboarding for summer or injury support year-round, we're always here to help and to take care of your workplace.
Total OCMed, 2 C's in OC, by the way. TotalOCCmed.com is the website, and, of course, all the other outlets right there. Debbie Accardo, thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning.
Okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely. We're coming up. We're almost at the top of the hour real quick. Tell you what, not enough time to open up another topic right here. I do, however, have enough time to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. 1 week from today, we won't be here. 1 week from today, a lot of us will be standing over a hot grill. A lot of us could be firing up the old pit right there. A lot of us are going to be doing some stuff with some great red meat, or maybe some white meat. You got them both over at Mathern's, and they're both on special right now. Ground beef, if you're making burgers for 4th of July, ground beef $3.99 a pound right now. If you want to fire up some chicken wings, $1.99 a pound. Leg quarters, that's the way I go. Okay, maybe I'm off on this one, but I would rather fire up the legs, the drumsticks and the thighs, the leg quarters, more than the breasts and the wings any day of the week. I don't know why. Maybe I'm a dark meat guy. Maybe I like the value there, 99 cents a pound at Mathern's right now. I know about all these prices because I have the Mathern's Rewards app, so I get updated weekly. I also earn cash towards more groceries every time I shop because of that Mathern's Rewards app. My main location is Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center, directly across the street from Tiger Stadium. Yours might be downtown. Yours might be on campus. Yours might be the OG location, Highland Road, just west of Kenilworth. Either way, download the Rewards app today from Mathern's. Quick break for news, traffic, weather. Hour 2 is next at 7 o'clock. I don't feel like going to Pennington for this bill signing today. Yeah, I got Adeline coming in for it. Well, at 9:40, I've got Jamie Newman, actress Jamie Newman, coming. We're going to record something for next week. Don't know what yet. I haven't even read about it. I just know she's from New Orleans. So if I could talk Hollywood South, I want to. 7:05, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. Busy hour slated for this hour. We're talking with Michael Hacht from G&O Inc. in our next segment. We are talking with the folks from the Pennington Biomedical Research Center after that. Looking forward to the conversation with Pennington. No, we're not talking about the Maha bill signing, which is going to be at Pennington later on today. More on that a little bit later, because we are going to talk about that with Governor Jeff Landry at 8:05. We're going to be talking about the metabolic kitchen with Pennington. We're also going to be talking, I got a couple of other topics when they get here for 7:35. Right now, though, we start off hour 2 with top stories and trending.
Number 5.
Probably going to be nothing, but let's tell you about it anyway. There is a disturbance in the Caribbean right now. It's an area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms over the northwestern Caribbean. Looks like it's headed for, it's expected to move west-northwestern into the Bay of Campeche tomorrow or Sunday night. Could be something named by Sunday or Monday if the system remains offshore off the coast of Mexico. Regardless of development, though. And right now we're looking at a 20% chance this becomes a storm. But right now, heavy rains are possible over Belize, Guatemala, southeastern Mexico during the next few days. So it's a little yellow X, but we are keeping an eye on it. Just another reminder that in the modern hurricane season, not all those storms form off the coast of Africa. Sometimes they pop up just south of us.
Number 4.
Breck's interim superintendent, Janet Simmons, has appointed Maurice Velasquez as interim chief operating officer and Johanna Landrino as interim chief human resources officer. Both of those appointments are effective immediately. We're going to be talking with Janet next week, probably get Maurice and Johanna in here as well shortly after. By the way, before you get the next number, John, we have an additional Breck story within top stories and trending. 4th of July. 1 week from today, Liberty Lagoon is going to open up for the summer season. Of course, they had to push back the opening of Liberty Lagoon because they couldn't find any lifeguards. So looks like that situation has been remedied. And 4th of July through Labor Day, Liberty Lagoon will be open.
Number 3.
Plan Baton Rouge 3 is hosting its next community meeting on Wednesday, July 16th at the Old State Capitol. Attendees can explore early downtown redevelopment ideas, view some exhibits, share some input. The open house runs from 5 to 7:30 p.m. 5 p.m. to
Number
7:30 p.m.
2.
That was on me. No, that's not on you. That was on me. I didn't clarify 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. I didn't want you to think it was open for 14 and a half hours.
Yeah.
That would be a heck of an open house.
Oh, yeah.
Louisiana's Attorney General said yesterday she officially filed a review of federal court's decision to rule a law that would require Louisiana schools to display the Ten Commandments is unconstitutional. Liz Murrell's office said the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals 3-judge panel, quote, directly rejected the Fifth Circuit's own precedents and precedents from other circuits in the Supreme Court when it ruled against the law last week.
Number 1.
A man accused of killing his former domestic partner outside of Our Lady of the Lake Medical Center back in March has formally been charged in her murder. 60-year-old Roland Domino was indicted yesterday for second-degree murder for the killing of 58-year-old hospital employee Patricia Jackson, who was shot and killed back on March 19th. What's trending?
Great balls of fire, that's what's trending, as a giant fireball was spotted in the sky over Georgia yesterday. Turned out to be a meteorite that exploded over Oxford, just east of Atlanta.
All right, so exploded in the air and had the concussion or repercussion or the concussion of, was it 7? Hang on, I've got the. Why don't I just open the page back up? That would be smart. They are assessing. They're still assessing damage today because this just happened yesterday.
Okay. Did yours record any seismic activity or anything?
So no.
There's one report I was reading. It didn't, but that just may have not been updated.
Yeah. I'm on the wrong page here. I closed mine out. My apologies. Mine was on the number of people who reported it and the overwhelming amount of video footage of this thing.
Yeah.
Because A, it happened fast, but B, there were a lot of cameras on it.
Indeed.
So
yeah, there were over 100 sightings apparently reported.
Yeah.
To the American Meteor Society. So
The American Meteor Society.
right, that's a thing.
More than 160 reports of the
Yeah.
fireball. By the way, it exploded 27 miles above West Forest, Georgia, which I guess is the same place as Oxford. Either way, it's just east of Atlanta. Oh, here it is. The fireball was 3 feet in diameter. It weighed more than a ton. The resulting pressure was propagated to pressure wave propagated to the ground, creating booms heard by many in the area. No, I still don't have the.
Yeah, the report
They've
I
got
have,
the comparison to what it was like versus TNT.
right. Okay. Yeah, the report I had was the National Weather Service received reports of shaking and rumbling, but no seismic activity indicating an earthquake.
Okay.
Man.
3 different articles on this thing, and none of them say compare the. One of the I read an article last night that compared the explosion to it was like 7 sticks of TNT or something like that. I don't remember.
I would imagine it would, though,
It's
right?
not-
I mean, this is coming down. I mean, I would think it would some sort of seismic activity.
Yeah.
I guess the size of it.
Here's
Would make all the
my thing,
difference.
John. We don't need anything else right now.
No,
we've got
don't.
Saharan dust out there right
Yeah.
now. I don't need space dust coming in on top of it.
No, we don't.
That's
we
like
don't.
I don't any dust that keeps us away from hurricanes, I'm fine. I've got an itchy left eye from allergies because of the Saharan dust.
Yeah.
That's tolerable to me. That being said, I don't need space dust or anything from space for that matter.
That's right.
Meteorite or otherwise.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just
I
don't need it.
it's what 35 miles east of Atlanta. I don't need the Monstars playing the Hawks in the offseason.
Oof. That was good. I like
Space,
that.
yeah.
I like that. Hey, bringing it home locally here. Dashcam video from a driver in Livingston Parish showed the moment an electrical worker was hit by the top of an 18-wheeler passing under the traffic signal.
And
Right there in
apparently
Denham,
he's okay now. Like
guess.
went to the ER. Horrific footage. I
Yeah.
mean, unbelievably horrific footage, and it's everywhere. By the way, I don't have to tell you. There's no
Yeah.
attribution to be given here because everybody's got the footage. Horrific footage. But as I understand it, he went to the ER and he was sent home the same day.
Yeah.
So
That
there
could have been
was the
way
grace of
worse.
God,
man.
man.
If he
That's-
wasn't.
yeah. Those
he
were some
wasn't
prayers
strapped in.
answered. I know.
Man, that's tough.
Yep.
Well, the honors keep rolling in for the College World Series most outstanding player. LSU pitcher Cade Anderson was named Baseball America's College Pitcher of the Year on Thursday.
Stack it up, man. Stack it up. I just,
Good
you know,
stuff.
love it. He's not going to be long for the majors, man. As soon as he gets drafted, it's
Yeah.
maybe 1 season in the minors, season and a half if he reports to like high A ball before the end of the year, rookie ball
Okay.
before the end of the year, then next year in the minors, and then start of 2027. I could see him on the bump in the bigs for sure.
Killing it. Yeah.
Well,
So good.
started back at Heap Field, man. That beautiful patch of grass and dirt
Yeah.
between Jefferson and Yankee, just off of 11th Street in Covington.
There you go.
Good old Heap Field. See,
It's
Cade Anderson got
close
to
to
play
home.
under the lights.
Yeah.
He got to play under the lights at Heap Field. Back in my day, it was my senior class was the first one that got the lights. Before that, we had nothing but day games. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, had to get out of class early to go play baseball. A lot of games called due to darkness after the 5th inning.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Oh, what a time. Huh?
We
What a time
we
to
got
be
lights
alive.
up for senior year, and it's been Katie bar the door since then. Nothing but success over there at St. Paul's.
It's good stuff, man.
All right, we're at 7:14 at Talk 107.3 FM. We're actually running a little bit long. Michael Hecht is scheduled to join us next. I called yesterday to make sure he was okay. Oh, and I have his cell phone number
Who's that?
for Michael Hecht. If he
Oh.
doesn't call us,
Oh, okay. Okay.
well, hello. Good morning. Got one
Good
more
morning.
segment before y'all. So I'll be right with you. Don't want to just hang. There's waters and soft drinks in there if you want one. so loud. $7:16. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along, hoping to connect with Michael Hecht here from Gino Inc. And this is our mulligan. We had him slated for earlier in the week, and this is us regrouping and rescheduling for right now. So I've been looking forward to this conversation for some time, because 3 years ago, Gino Inc. helped form the NOLA Coalition to tackle two essential priorities: creating safety today and investing in kids for tomorrow down in New Orleans, and add Governor Landry getting elected and putting Troop NOLA into place, and the new superintendent of police down there. And well, what we're looking at right now is homicides being down 68%, shootings being down 57%, carjackings down 82%. The least deadly year recorded in New Orleans' history is what we're on pace for right now. Don't want to put the jinx on that. You don't talk to the pitcher in the middle of the no-hitter, but that is what we're on pace for right now. Tell you what, yeah, John, try them one more time. While I have a second, I do need to remind you about the folks over at Vex European. You can check them out online at vexeuropean.com, VEX. That's Vex European. V is in Vinny, X is in exotics. That's how he got his start, vexeuropean.com. If you drive a European vehicle, Vex European is your answer. You know what? Specifically, very specifically, Jaguar owners. I need to talk to you. Jaguar Baton Rouge shut down. So if you regularly took your Jaguar to the Jaguar dealership, Vex European is your answer right here. Hit them up at vexeuropean.com. Make your appointment right there online. Dirty little secret. Hit up the specials tab first. Save yourself $100 on your first visit. But whether you're talking about major repairs or regular maintenance, vexeuropean.com has got you covered, and they have a master-level technician for Jaguars. Look, I have a 17-year-old Mercedes. They keep that bad boy up and running smooth, too. vexeuropean.com. Check out the full list of makes when you get there, but if you're a Jaguar owner, they're here for you with Jaguar closing down. All right, joining us now, talking about crime in New Orleans and why it's just trending on historically good levels, Michael Hecht from Gino Inc. is with us. Michael, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. It's Friday, and we made it, so great to be here.
Absolutely. And, this is the first weekend where there's nothing going on. Up in Natchitoches, they got, the Sports Hall of Fame, but, last weekend, you had LSU baseball, and I know for everybody else that's fun, but for me, for those that work over there, it was work. But, this is the first weekend. It's put your feet up and start counting down to the fourth.
Well, yeah, except that my wife just came to me. She said, this weekend we should go to Costco. So that's what happens, when you don't have an athletic event or something like that to go to. You end up, in Costco spending hundreds of dollars.
No,
so.
Costco on a Saturday, do not recommend.
Exactly.
No,
exactly. Talk to my wife. Can you talk to her after the show, please?
If I'm going to do anything, Michael, I'm going to talk her into going on a weekday. Because Costco on a Saturday, it's as populated as China. You got so many, there's just too many people. Nothing wrong with it, just so many people.
No, they do a great job with what they have, but
yes.
I agree. What I usually do is I put on headphones and just listen to music or a podcast and go to my happy place.
I can see that. Is the happy place standing in line for samples?
Well, I'm more the guy that says a pack of 12 frozen chicken breasts. I'll eat that. That's perfect.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, look, 4th of July is right around the corner. All right, we got business to tend to. We can continue with this. We got business to tend to, though. Y'all started a couple of years ago looking to just take on a couple of priorities about safety and investing in kids, and you're netting results down there, man. Tell us about it.
It's a pretty amazing story. Nothing that we actually could have hoped would work out this well when it started. So 3 years ago, quite tragically, New Orleans was the murder capital of the country. It was something that we were really distressed about, first and foremost, at an ethical level. I've got two boys that we're raising here. Mm-hmm. And then as economic developers and community leaders, we thought this was also going to be really corrosive to trying to attract companies and people to the city. And it wasn't just homicide, which of course is the worst, but it was carjacking, which was basically a form of terrorism. It was stunt driving in the streets. There was a feeling that the city was kind of tipping into the precipice. And so, really, not out of a grand design, to be honest, but out of almost desperation, we started something called the NOLA Coalition, where we just got people around the table and said, what can we do to create safety today and to invest in our kids tomorrow so that, we're not going to have crime spikes. We're going to have young people that have hope and opportunity and skills. And what it ended up doing, I think, was creating the political pressure for the council, the mayor, the DA, the police, for everybody to begin to work together instead of blaming each other. And that, combined with better use of technology, amazing support from the state and the feds, has led to a turnaround where now our murder rate is down, I think, close to 70% versus 3 years ago. Carjacking's down over 80%, shootings down almost 60%, and this year is, if it keeps trending, is going to be the least deadly year in recorded history for New Orleans. So it's, we're grateful to everybody that's done the work. But to be honest, 3 years ago, if you had said we'd be here, I would have said, I don't believe you, I'm going to Costco.
Talk with Michael Hacht about the just historic numbers, historic in a good way, numbers going on in New Orleans when it comes to crime. And we have a lot of similar problems here, Michael, in Baton Rouge. I mean, we're just an hour away, but there's a lot of similarities there, especially when it comes to the homicides and the shootings. And one of the things that we've seen here is that the numbers are trending younger. Is that the way it was in New Orleans as well, that the numbers, like the people being arrested, we're seeing more and more juveniles arrested, kids being arrested for grown-up crimes?
Yeah, well, we saw that, and in some cases, in many cases, tragically, it was kids shooting kids.
Yeah.
And then in the case of the carjackings, it was often kids being used by older adults kind of as the foil because they thought they wouldn't be prosecuted as adults. And it's really why we made the focus of the NOLA Coalition on young people, because we thought we had to break that cycle of violence and retribution and, again, give our young people better opportunities. So one of the things that we've done, besides working with elected officials and police on crime fighting, is we're raising money to invest in youth services. We've raised over $11 million so far. The latest chunk was close to $2 million that's getting invested in the University of New Orleans, soon I think to be UNO at LSU once again, to open up their facilities to local youth. And it's our position that we're never going to be able to police our way out of this. What we really have to do is prevent violence before it happens, and that's by investing in young people.
Okay, you bring up a good point there. You can't police your way out of it. You can't arrest your way out of it. However, you can't not arrest your way out of it either. So the addition of Troop NOLA and the reinvigoration of just the support of police in New Orleans is a major part of this. The buy-in from GNO Inc. is the part where you're not everyone has their role here, to where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So talk to me about buy-in from GNO Inc.'s perspective. How do you get business community involved? How do you get local, not necessarily elected officials, but just leaders in the community to push all the chips to the middle of the table here?
I think what we provided, looking back on it, and remember, it was a very different world about 3 years ago politically. Mm-hmm. I think we provided kind of an arc of sanity, because we were in a world a few years ago where there were these two extremes. One extreme was we need to defund the police. We can't have any type of carceral activities because it's bad and it reinforces systemic issues. And on the other side was kind of this lock 'em up mentality. Mm-hmm. And what we said is, the truth, most of us believe, is somewhere in the middle. You have to prevent crime now, because cities where people don't feel safe go into a downward spiral. But at the same time, we have to recognize again, that we don't police our way out of this. So by providing that place where people of all different races, all different political backgrounds, all different homes could come together and agree on these very basic tenets that we need safety today and support for our kids for tomorrow, we got buy-in, because in the political world, in the social media world, you just weren't seeing that middle ground where, I don't know, like 80% of Americans and New Orleanians actually live. So we provided that forum, and as a result, the NOLA Coalition quickly grew. We're now over 600 organizations, and is probably the most diverse civic action group in the city's history. The only other place you find a group like this is in the cheap seats at a Saints game.
The coalition here, 600 different groups that are part of the I mean, that's a lot of trickle down there. How do you keep everyone rowing in the same direction?
It's a great point. So the first is that we're very transparent. We have a website, nolacoalition.info. Folks can go and look at it. And on this website, we list our principals, all of our members. So it's really simple. The second is that we do have a steering committee, which is made up of about a dozen individuals, very diverse. And we're the ones that basically are making the final decisions on when we're putting out a statement, what our priorities are going to be for the year. So, for example, one of our priorities for this year is reinvigorating Nord, and in many ways we're looking at what Breck has done successfully over the years. So we do have a steering committee, and then we just try to do a good job of communicating with everybody and always being receptive to feedback. And I think it's also just the case that success begets success, and the fact that we have seen such improvement in the community, of which the NOLA Coalition is just a small part. We were just catalytic. It makes people want to be part of this winning team, particularly when winning means having a better city and protecting our kids.
We talked about trickle down. Let's talk about trickle up here, because G&O Inc. is the economic development driver for the greater New Orleans area. From a business perspective, how tough is it to undo a reputation there? How tough? It's one thing to be safe. It's one thing to see the numbers go down. It's another thing to replicate that feeling, especially when you're trying to recruit new business. How tough is that sell?
Oh, man. I mean, for anybody who's ever made a mistake in junior high school, reputation's hard to overcome. Yep. Asking for a friend. So I think that it's probably a ratio of 10 to 1 that you need, 10 good events or 10 good announcements to overcome one bad one. And so, yeah, it has taken time, but what I'm seeing, and this is both anecdotal and statistical, is that as we continue to have these good results and as we have fewer and fewer stories of violence, I wouldn't say that our reputation has grown as a quote safe city. I don't think people are thinking about us like Mayberry.
Right.
But I don't have companies talking to me anymore saying my people don't want to come here or my board doesn't want to come to the region because of safety. It's kind of melted away as an issue is probably the best way to describe it. And then we do a poll of citizen satisfaction every year in New Orleans. And the results this year were kind of speak for themselves. Satisfaction with the police department is up from last year from 40% to 47%. 84% of New Orleanians say their own neighborhoods are safe. And what's interesting is that the split between black and white residents is pretty even. 56% of black residents and 49% of white residents agree the city is very or fairly safe. So you kind of just know when the reputation is improving, but it's also nice to have these numbers that show at least that local New Orleanians agree.
Got to ask you the tough one about the prison break, though, because you have all this momentum. How do you compartmentalize that and make sure that's nothing but a blip on the radar?
Well, one, you don't. I mean, look, I was over in Europe when that happened, and I was, and my phone was blowing up over there. And that's what I mean by you need 10 good stories to outpace one, because that story was, not only lousy, but also pretty spectacular, just the way it was done and the way that they left the taunting messages. And it was, it was something that went around the world. So reputationally, that's difficult to overcome. Mm-hmm. I think what a lot of New Orleanians are doing right now are trying to understand at a systemic level, how did this happen? Was it under investment in the prison? Was it a management issue? What I'm focusing on myself is, if you peel back the onion, one of the main problems here is that some of the individuals who escaped had been in that jail for up to 3 years.
Right.
And that's a problem because we're all supposed to get a swift and fair trial. So if you're being held, again, jail is not prison. Jail is where you go, to await your fate.
Right.
It shouldn't be your fate. And so I think it also is pointing out issues with the way dockets get processed through the judiciary.
Last two before I get you out of here, and I greatly appreciate your time this morning, Michael. We're talking with Michael Hecht.
Costco doesn't open until 10. I got time.
we got Michael Hecht with us from G&O Inc. All right. What are y'all doing that can be replicated up here? Is this something that's packageable and can be, can we do what you're doing?
I think that there are things that we're doing that are packageable and are kind of generic across communities. The essential thing that we did, and I've talked to good friends in Baton Rouge about this, like my friend and cousin Adam Knapp, is we pulled together a group that was so diverse in its constituency, black and white, Democrat, Republican, from all parts of the city, that when we made a statement to political leaders, they couldn't compartmentalize, they couldn't ignore us, they couldn't divide us. So that gave us the political power to support our politicians, to sometimes maybe turn the heat up on our politicians. And so having that group that was so diverse in its constituency, I think, is the secret sauce. The reason we were able to pull together such a diverse group is that the goals that we decided on, which are safe streets today so you can go shopping or your kid can go play, and investing in our kids for tomorrow, were goals that almost everybody, regardless of background, could agree on. So I think that's the secret sauce, is coming up with very common sense goals that a majority of individuals will agree on to put together a diverse coalition, which is a source of political power.
Last one before we get you out of here, and hey, this is just more follow-up here. When can I have you back on to talk business as well?
Oh, man, I'd love to. Adam and I started something years ago called the Super Region. My family is actually from Donisonville originally. So, I think New Orleans and Baton Rouge are basically the same economic region. Anytime I'd love to get on, come on live and talk. And listen, so look me up. If anybody wants to know more about the NOLA Coalition, they should just go to nolacoalition.info. And we're happy to talk to anybody or any groups who wants to replicate it. That's our therapy to pay it forward.
NOAHcoalition.info. In the meanwhile, I want more background on what makes a Costco playlist. He is Michael Hecht from Geno Inc. I appreciate the time this morning, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Happy 4th of July. Thanks for having me on.
Likewise. We ran right past ABC News. Let's catch our local news. Traffic, weather. When we come back, we got the folks from the Pennington Biomedical Research Center next. He was too much fun. That was so worth the wait. How awesome was that? All right. Let me move everything around before I bring the ladies in here. Oh, by the way, whatever happened to my garbage can after it was done being used as a prop? Because my recycling bin remained, but my garbage can's gone. No, the blue one's the recycling bin. The dark brown one looked like it came out of a Ramada in the 70s. Yeah. Yeah. All right. No, both of us last week. Oh, I guess I didn't see it till Monday. All right, so these are going to be all, and then I'll move over to here. Okay. And so we're talking metabolic kitchen and what's the other one?
Snackle boxes.
Snackle boxes. Yes.
Yeah. See?
Okay. No, okay. I read the Country Roads article, but we had lunch with Joe and Ariel. We had lunch with Joe and Ariel a couple weeks ago. And like I was pumped about the snackle boxes because this year's family vacation is an RV trip. So I need like all the tips, tricks, and hacks. So.
All right. She's got them for you.
All right, let's go.
I like this table. It makes me feel tall. I know. Tall chair.
My apologies. The chairs are a point of contention around here.
Oh. Well,
That you can't move in that one at all without it squeaking.
Oh, well, that's true.
And
I guess it's
don't
bad
don't
for
be
radio.
no. I don't think it shows up on the air, but it shows it's because that's what I'm normally sitting there. That one is a little bit nicer, a little more comfortable.
You want this one?
So
No, I'm good with this one. I'm gonna try not to squeak, but
don't.
I'm a bit fidgety.
I shouldn't have said it out loud. Now you're gonna be self-conscious about it. I shouldn't have said anything out loud. It's but here's the thing though. We have a sports station. And the afternoon drive host on the sports station spent a good 6 years complaining on the air about the chairs every day. Every day. These chairs suck. They got to go. And he got new chairs. He got nice chairs. So, but from my end, it's like, well, I can't complain about chairs because Moscona has cornered the market on complaining about chairs.
Oh, yeah.
And the last thing management wants to hear about right now is somebody else bitching about the chairs.
So are you saying you want me to audibly squeak a lot in the chair?
I mean,
I'll spin you
I'm
around
not.
the
I'm
chair.
not saying I don't have a passive aggressive streak, but no, it's all good.
I'm
Oh.
Renee Stelzer. Allie, Allie, Atuso.
You go by Allie.
I do.
Y'all ready for the circus to come to town today?
Oh, at Pennington?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
that should
We've
be.
got lots of security-related emails and
So many security.
secure the doors and
Yep. Governor's coming on at top of the hour, 8:05. Talk about it. So, and then I'm pretty sure I'm coming out to the.
you coming?
I
Visiting Pennington?
think so. Yes, the signing's at Pennington. So,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah.
Yeah, they were moving a lot of stuff into the building. Yeah, like they was fancy.
Which, by the way, whoever arranged. Big shining lights saying, "Look at the stuff we're doing here."
Yeah, totally.
So. $7:39, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Time to pivot over and talk about diet. Talk about your health, what you're putting in your body. Joining us now from the Pennington Biomedical Research Center, we've got Renee Stelzer and Allie Atuso. Good morning and welcome aboard. How are you doing today?
Doing
Great.
good.
Let's get you right up on the mics. Sorry, right up. Whoa, hey, there we go. All right. Want to break this down into two different pieces because they're well, we got the both of y'all here, but two different pieces. Renee, you run the metabolic kitchen over there at Pennington.
That's right.
Okay, so for those that have done a clinical trial at Pennington, they know what that is. For the rest of the world, tell us what the metabolic kitchen is.
Right. So the Metabolic Kitchen helps the researchers at Pennington develop the diets as part of the study interventions. So anytime a study comes along that needs us to provide food as part of the study, that's where we come in.
Okay. And how does that apply itself? Like what goes into, I mean, we're creating recipes here, putting together
creating recipes,
meal plans.
menu planning, preparing the meals, distributing them, giving them to the participants who come in to pick them up or maybe stay on our inpatient unit. We'll serve the meals on our inpatient unit at Pennington.
And the application of that looks like what? Because we live in Louisiana. There's a high demand for flavor here. You can't just put 4 pieces of broccoli on a plate and call it a day.
That is always a challenge. So we do a lot of developing recipes, tasting them, maybe revising them. We always ask for feedback from our study participants. Sometimes there are changes we can make, and sometimes there are not, because at the end of the day, we have to stick to these very strict protocol requirements.
So how much of that is top down, though? How much of that is told to you on the front end? Like, this is what we're studying, so this is how you have to fill it out.
It goes both ways. Sometimes it is top down, and we just have to do what the protocol says, and sometimes it's more of a collaboration.
Okay, and then bottom up would be the feedback that you get from the patients. How, just ballpark it, how frequently can you implement things like that into the future?
I would say 75% of the time.
The Allie, I want to get you in here as well because you were recently featured in Country Roads magazine talking about the Snackle Box. We're going to pivot this so quickly.
Okay.
As a parent of 3 kids, I could not be more could not be more dialed into to what the Snackle Box is. I've got 3 kids at home, and it is summertime, and they're left to their own devices a good bit with the fridge there and in the pantry and everything. So let's start with, what is the Snackle Box?
Snackle Box so popular right now.
Mhm.
Like you can obviously go to like the hardware store and get just like a tackle box and
Okay.
do customize it however you want. But most of the grocery stores are coming up with their own like cutesy little snackle boxes that you can customize by like season and stuff like that. But I like to go to the hardware store, get the kind that you can just remove the inserts and customize it as much as you want.
Okay.
And then so important to bring the novelty whenever you're going on summer vacations and kind of giving the kids a little bit of control. But ultimately, you are putting in all of the nutrients and the good stuff for them as well.
Walk me through a few examples of the everyday good stuff, because this is where it gets tough for a parent.
Right. So we want, especially to keep it exciting, we want to incorporate some of the newer things, maybe some fruits or vegetables that they have never tried, along with some things that they're familiar with as well. So like in mine, I'll put number one, colors, because we love to see rainbows and pretty nutrients in our boxes. But I'll do like some of the shaped, like animal shaped crackers in there, put some whole grain crackers in there. If you have a cooler and you can keep your snackle box in the cooler, I'll use some of those cute little cookie cutters to cut out like little shapes and some cucumbers and cheeses, so they can have some like little lunchable type things in there. And then I'll put some fruit gummies, some of their favorites, and then some little treats that they can be excited about. So kind of the same thing as like whenever you stop at a rest stop, instead of them going get something super fun and exciting from a vending machine,
Right.
you just whip out your super fun and exciting snackle box that you already have.
So we've got the Haldane family has an RV road trip coming up, which don't know if it's going to be awesome or a nightmare yet. It's not going to be anywhere in between. It's not going to be anywhere in between. It's either going to be the Griswolds or Cousin Eddie. I don't know which path we're going down yet, but I do know that we're all going to be in the same vehicle for this vacation. So map this out for me on a grander scale here of more than just the road trip. It's the staying in it now. How do I keep the kids dialed in?
I like to have them going ahead and picking out, number one, the snackle box in itself is huge, but also I like to have them choosing a list of things before we go. What do you want to put in there? And they can even, as you eat things out of your snackle box, okay, here are 3 different options we're going to put in there for the next leg of the race. What do you want to put in there? And they can even make like a homemade trail mix. We've done that in the RV before.
Okay.
Just because you have lots of room in an RV, I've given them a big bowl and some different ingredients, some different cereals and popcorn, a good whole grain, and had them dump it in a big bowl, mix it up, and doing this in the RV. So it's an activity.
Okay.
And then, then we can scoop a little bit out and put it into a baggie or fill some of the holes in their snackle box. Maybe they've got super excited and had some of the less nutritious items in there. That's gone. So now we can put in our nice, healthy trail mix.
So I've always found that, take the kids to Fresh Pickens or whatever, the more ownership they have over their decisions, the better decisions they make, or the more actively they'll participate in it. You mentioned earlier on about finding something that they haven't tried. That's always a battle. How do you win that battle?
I try and before we leave, I try and take my son to the store with me and say, look, we want to make sure we have some items that you love. So he'll pick out his apples. We'll put the apples in there and some maybe strawberries. Get some good fiber in there. And then, okay, James, what is something that you've never seen before? And he'll go looking and find something that maybe is a different color or shape than he's used to. I want to try this. So then we'll just buy one, cut it up and put it in there so that I'm not investing a whole lot into a snack that, we might have to introduce over time to get used to.
All right. After the segment, we're gonna have to figure out how you knew my son's name was James. We'll get to that later on. One more here, and then I want to go back to everybody's overall diet in just a little bit with Renee. But one more here. As a parent, how militant do I need to be here? How much lax does there, how much give and take is there along the way?
Well, it's vacation, so we want to have a whole lot of fun. So we want to put it in there, and they're naturally just going to be inquisitive and want to try it. Now, it might be they might try it, love it, and knock it out, and then we have room for our trail mix. Or they may try it. It might be an acquired taste. They might leave it there, and then maybe they're playing a game with their brother and sister and just kind of picking out their snackle box, and they might be by accident, but throw it in their mouths, and then we're acquiring a taste for it. We're getting more exposure to it. So I wouldn't, especially on a family vacation, I wouldn't be super militant about it.
We got Allie Tuso and Renee Stelter with us from the Pennington Biomedical Research Center. Renee runs the Metabolic Kitchen, so I want to broaden this out to basically everybody's diet over the course of the summertime. It is a different time of year, which means our body needs different things to fuel it this time of year. What are some of the general guidelines, not just for those that are participating in the studies, but what are some of the general guidelines you recommend as the summertime rolls through?
Oh, well, my general guidelines for the summer are similar to my general guidelines for all year round, which is incorporate more fruits and veggies, which is there's an added bonus for the summer because fruits and veggies also have additional they're going to give you additional hydration. So you're going to get some water intake, especially with all the delicious melons that are coming into season, our local watermelons. And there's so many good fruits and veggies that come in season for the summer that are grown locally. You can go to the farmer's market, see so many good options there.
The hydration end on the fruits and veggies, nobody ever thinks about that end. It's always like the sweetness or the value of the vitamins and nutrients and whatnot, but the hydration end is a good part on that back end. General guidelines when it comes to portioning up the plate there. What should that be looking like?
I would put half of your plate as fruits and veggies.
Okay. Okay. And then
we'll
25,
say
25?
Yeah.
Fair enough. What are some of the more frequent questions you get within the Metabolic Kitchen as folks are coming through studies and whatnot? What are some of the more frequent questions you get from participants?
From participants related to participating in the studies?
Yeah.
Well, we always, so it's interesting with our participants coming into our studies because a lot of our studies, we ask participants to eat everything that we provide, like Clean Plate Club is what I call it.
Okay.
We want them to be in the Clean Plate Club. And so we do a lot of coaching with, asking them to eat everything. Some of our studies, we even provide little spatulas so that they can, because we're weighing out all the food to 1/10 of a gram in the Metabolic Kitchen. It's very precise. We want our participants to receive exactly what we're planning for them to receive in the study. And so for a lot of our participants, that kind of goes against what they've been told their whole lives, where they shouldn't clean their plate. Maybe when they were children, their parents tried to convince them to do that. But as we grow into adults, that a lot of people think, well, maybe I shouldn't clean my plate. But feeding studies at Pennington, that's generally what we're looking for.
The level of precision that goes into the Metabolic Kitchen. This is one of the things that I'm most impressed with, is that level of precision. Talk to me about how much care and attention goes into that.
Yes, lots of love goes into to all of the foods we prepare. So we are preparing breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, your entire day of meals for anywhere from 1 day to up to 12 weeks for our study participants. We're weighing the items out to 1/10 of a gram. It takes a lot of time. We have tight control over the ingredients, sometimes even the brands. We have to be very specific about the brands that we're using. And it takes a lot of attention.
What about the brands?
I mean, so consider if you're making a turkey sandwich with whole wheat bread, you go to the store, look for whole wheat bread. There's how many different brands? If you look at the nutrition facts, all of them have different nutrition facts. So we want to make sure that what we plan for our participants to have nutrition-wise, is what we're actually giving them.
Okay. Okay. And it's important because if they can't follow up in the real world, I mean, inside the walls of Pennington, y'all could do whatever, but once out in the wild, if they can't stick within the parameters, then the whole study is going to be a wash. So, what's your batting average on that? How do you keep people, how effective do you keep people within the guidelines?
It's an ongoing challenge. We provide a lot of coaching for our outpatient studies. our inpatient studies are, we also provide a lot of coaching, but it's a little easier because we have them here and we can kind of in the moment encourage them.
For some general guidelines, some general tips, where should folks go if they want to learn more?
They can go to our website at pbrc.edu.
pbrc.edu. Renee, Allie, thank you all so much for a couple minutes this morning.
Thank you. Thanks.
We are at 7:52 at Talk 107.3 FM. Quick break when we come back. An abbreviated This Day in History presented by 5 Star Printing and Signs. Awesome stuff.
Okay. Good. Okay. That's going to be so fun.
How old is your James?
So fun. My James just turned 7.
Okay.
And so normally when we go on trips, I have a spoiled niece. So I have a boy, I have a twin brother who has a girl, and she is 5, and she about to be 6, so they're very close in age. So she comes up at 4.
I forgot to tell you about the camera beforehand. Sorry. We're always on Facebook.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I spoil her, and so she comes like every single family vacation with us. So like they come together, and so I make these like activities with them that they get to do together.
Okay.
The trail mix is huge.
Okay.
It was huge.
Okay.
Them at the table, car seats, mixing.
I don't know how that's going to work in an RV. I think we might have to do that before we leave.
Well, I mean, they were sitting at the table, and we had a big bowl, and yeah.
Okay.
You got to keep them entertained.
All right. Yeah, I know, but like moving vehicle. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to clean up after that.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, my James is 9. So.
That's wonderful.
So I have a 4th grader, an 8th grader, and a college freshman. Or will be a college freshman as of August 1st.
That's amazing.
Really skins. A lot of spacing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Keeps life interesting.
Awesome stuff, y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having us. Yeah.
Always. Yeah, won't be the last time. I don't think you squeaked at all.
I tried really hard.
You did
not
really,
to.
really well. Worked that core. $7:55, Talk 107.3 FM at WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. We got the governor coming up at 8:05, which means we've got to move this day in history up to right now. All right, John.
All right.
Break it down for me.
1778, the Liberty Bell returns home to Philadelphia after the British departure.
Wait, it returned home?
Yeah.
That's a heavy bell, man.
It is.
Don't just carry that thing around.
Looks like they got a FedEx Express.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
No porch pirating the Liberty Bell.
No, indeed. 1950, North Korean troops reached Seoul, causing the UN to ask member states to aid South Korea. Harry Truman orders the U.S. Air Force and Navy into the Korean conflict. So
Okay.
we enter that today.
Yep.
1972, the Atari was founded in Sunnyvale, California, by Nolan Bushell and Ted Dabney.
In 19 what?
72.
72.
Yeah.
All right. That feels like so much older than, well, I guess it had to grow in popularity for a little while.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. 79. Muhammad Ali confirms that his third retirement is final. And, of course, it isn't.
No.
1986. Here we go. This is a good one. 1986. Jim Henson's fantasy film Labyrinth is released today.
Okay.
So good.
Yeah, that's the David Bowie one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
What? 94. Aerosmith is the first major band to let fans download a full new track for free from the internet. Aerosmith.
Okay.
Started it all, right?
Yep.
Let's see. The first debate between presumptive U.S. presidential candidates Joe Biden and Donald Trump, hosted by CNN, raises fears about Biden as he appears to stumble with his words this day a year ago.
No, not a year ago.
2024?
It was that recent.
Yeah.
I feel like this this election cycle has been going on for so much longer than that.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. All right.
We're just on loop, right?
Yeah,
Man.
pretty much.
Ooh. Anything else on this day?
No.
Moving on to birthdays here.
Yes, please.
Helen Keller today.
Yeah, saw that.
Actor Tobey Maguire as well.
No kidding.
Let's see. J.J. Abrams as well. Director J.J. Abrams.
Okay.
Let's see who else we had here. I know I had one more for you. Where's he at?
Where's he at?
Where's he at?
Where's he at? Can I finish? Hey, this day in 1930, H. Ross Perot.
Okay.
American businessman and former presidential candidate. Spoiler in the 92 election.
Okay.
It's Ross Perot's birthday. It's also Captain Kangaroo's birthday.
Hey, Bruce Johnston, the Beach Boys today as
Okay.
well. Moving on to deaths here. Jack Lemmon at the top of this list.
Yeah, saw that.
Let's see. R&B singer Bobby Womack as well.
Yep, those were the two that I had. I had Jack Lemmon, I had Bobby Womack, and that was all I had.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I was going to ask if you had anything else.
Nope, those two were the big ones. What national days you got?
Well, this is right up our alley right here. National Food Truck Day.
National Food Truck Day.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask a legitimate question here.
Okay.
I've been hearing a lot more about food trucks. I thought the food truck craze was pretty much over with.
Really?
Are we done with it yet?
I don't
or
know.
Are we about to see a resurgence?
Oh, I think we're seeing a resurgence.
Like here in Baton Rouge, we had this, it was like wildfire for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And then it really started to taper off. And you had all those food truck roundups for a little while. But those, I mean, they're just, maybe I'm just the curmudgeon here, okay? But I don't need to pay more for my food because it comes out of a moving vehicle.
Mm.
Like if I want food from a truck, like I feel like
That's where some of the best tacos come from.
I understand that, but we pay at a premium for something that is a complete inconvenience. You can't sit down and eat it unless you got like a park bench, and then you got to bounce it on your lap, and then you got taco all over your pants. All right, contemplate that. Governor's next.
Oh man! Speaking of, I was in Sam's the other day and ran into a guy. We were in the spice aisle, and he owns a food truck. And yeah, just started talking to Jamie and I, and yeah, man.
What kind of food truck? What's it called?
It's called Food for the Soul. Yeah, it's a guy named Philip. Yeah, we just
Wait, a guy named Philip?
yeah, Food for the Soul.
Oh Jesus!
What happened? No, Philip.
Yeah, I know. And let me guess, you somehow got Miss Judy involved.
No, because when I talked to her, he said he knew Judy. So it was like that small world kind of thing. I'm like, hey,
She texted me yesterday saying he needs to come on the show for Foodie Friday.
Oh, no. So, no,
She
it
said-
wasn't. No, it wasn't like that. It was, hey, do you know this guy Philip? Ran into him at Sam's.
Mhm.
What? Oh, I know Philip. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
He has a food truck. Here's his phone number. John will fill you in tomorrow. So subtle.
It wasn't like that.
Subtle.
It was more so like, hey, ran into a guy who owns a food truck. About yeah, I didn't know she would text you about it. But no, that's how that conversation happened. Is the governor calling it?
Supposed to be.
Okay. So I'll make sure I'm looking.
Ow.
Yeah, Matt says I played Atari and I was born 10 years later. Matt, I played Atari and I was born like 20 years later. So we've got this like updated Atari with like a modernized Atari at the house, and we don't really play it that much, but it's just kind of cool to have for the kids to kind of see how far gaming has come. Super Nintendo as well at the house. Let's see. It's good stuff. Studio. Hello, yes sir. Yes sir, how you doing this morning? All right, doing very well. Yeah, looking to have you up here in another minute or two. All right, thank you.
Put a tablecloth on the table. Hopefully, it looks a little better with the talk logo right there. Hopefully. I don't know how it's going to be presentation-wise once they're in here with the food. Yeah, it's just having that just white plastic table. It's a terrible backdrop. I got to start hustling up guest hosts. My vacation's coming up real soon. 7/15, July 15th through the 22nd. And I'm not the whole thing's not gonna be the RV trip. It's 4 days is the RV trip within there. I'm giving myself a full day to learn how to like go over there to Miller's, learn how to like, okay, how do I plug it in? Like when we're at a state park, like how do I like
All that
how do I empty the toilet?
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah.
How do I drive this bad boy? I'm not getting one of those big buses.
Oh, okay.
No, we're not going to be in the
Maybe like a
Madden
mid-size,
Cruiser.
maybe like a.
Yeah, it's called Mini Winnie.
Okay.
So,
all right.
yeah,
Sounds like fun, man.
my middle child wanted all the space of the big one, and I'm like, sweetheart, Daddy has to drive this thing.
Right. Right.
I drive a sedan. I don't even drive a truck. Like,
Yeah. Good stuff, man.
8:06. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. We got a busy hour this hour. We got Greg Upton talking energy and Israel versus Iran. What are the repercussions we're going to see here on the oil and gas front? We've got Chef Kevin coming in from Bally's in the Queen for Foodie Friday later on, presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Right now, though, going to be a big day out at Pennington later on today. In fact, we had the ladies from Pennington earlier on in the show. But it's going to be a big day for other reasons out at Pennington Biomedical Research Center. There will be a bill signing as SB 14 by State Senator Patrick McMath made its way through the process, going to be signed off on by the governor, and it's garnering national attention, and that RFK Jr. is coming to town. Joining us now to talk about this is Governor Landry. Governor, good morning. How are you, sir?
Brian, it's great. I mean, look, every day becomes a better and better day in Louisiana. I mean, it really is. I mean, this week has been unbelievable. We have signed some monumental bills. We've seen the great product of bills that are turning into laws that are actually moving Louisiana from the bottom to the top. And so it's great. And having another cabinet secretary. In fact, I was talking to Sharon trying to count how many of the Trump cabinet has visited Louisiana literally since the president was inaugurated. I think it's like 6. And so it just really is. It's a great day. We've got Bobby Kennedy coming in today, and of course he's not new to Louisiana. He came and helped me when I was Attorney General during the COVID-19 restrictions, where we testified together in front of the State House.
Really?
Yeah. You don't remember? I mean,
I don't remember.
Brian, you don't remember that?
Governor, COVID put everything in a time warp. I don't remember any. I barely remember what I had for lunch yesterday. So,
well, that's great. We're great. When you wake up tomorrow morning, all you got to remember is the governor's making the state great again, and just everything else is fine.
SB 14 is the issue at hand, is the subject. Patrick McMath put this one forward. Tell me about why you're on board with it.
Well, look, first of all, we recognize that slowly by slowly, we've had corporations that have put profit over health, and we've seen our overall health in the country decline. I mean, look, there was a day when recess was meant for playing outside instead of TikTok and Snapchat. I mean, kids used to ride around on bicycles. I remember I was one of them. Louisiana especially has alarming rates of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. And these are not just numbers; they represent real stories and families that are suffering from these illnesses. And there's the ability to reverse a lot of those trends through education and empowering our citizens to become more healthier. And that's what Bobby Kennedy's "Make America Healthy Again" position has been. It's why the president tapped him to be the Secretary of Health. He's recognized it as something that he has fought on since the 80s. And it's just great to have him here in Louisiana, and it's great to sign this bill.
You mentioned just a second ago about the people putting profit over health for far too long. There is a cost factor here. Healthy food does cost more. How are we paying for it?
Well, look, again, I mean, here's the question. You pay now or you pay later. Look, here's what I can tell you. I was able to go over to the Paris Air Show. What was that, last week? I get caught in a time warp myself, Brian.
Yep.
But it was over in France, and I can tell you that food tastes different in Europe than it does in Louisiana. They're able to do it in Europe. They've got their health factors are much better than America's is. Their food processing is much healthier, and so there's no reason we can't do it here in America economically.
I skip right past the headline here, Governor. Tell us what SB 14 does. Tell us what kind of foods kids can expect to get in their schools with SB 14.
Well, what happens is it improves the nutritional standards. It bans harmful artificial food dyes and additives. It encourages us to purchase our food in our schools from local producers, and it directs investment in kids' health and supports our local farmers. And then it's going to look. I think that this is like the first step. In fact, I was talking to Bobby. I guess it was a couple of weeks ago when I was inviting him to come over, and we talked about putting together an initiative. And I think he started it like his uncle, right? His uncle, like JFK did, when they really put a push on physical education in school. And I think that's something that we need to go back to doing. I mean, the population was so much healthier. You know, you've seen the old black and white footage of the 1940s and 50s when you see well, especially in the 40s when men were preparing to go to war, and you just looked at the population. They were healthier, they were thinner, they could do more. We spent more time outside, and so Senate Bill 14 and Senator Patrick McMahon's leadership really is the first step in building a healthier Louisiana. And here's the other thing too: as Washington debates the big beautiful bill, and there's all these scare tactics over what's going to happen with Medicaid. The one thing that I know is the ability to improve our Medicaid system is automatically done when we move people from dependence to independence and we make them healthier.
Expound on that a little bit. Continue with that thought, because I think there's more to come.
Well, look, here's the thing. As our economy improves, people have the ability to get off of the Medicaid rolls, right? It's why we focused on public safety, educational reforms, historic tax cuts. The investments that we're seeing people coming into Louisiana right now are historic. In fact, CNBC is doing a piece. I was up in Richland Parish where they are going through and combing through the top states for business. Louisiana has never been on that list. Today, we are being looked at as one of the top states for business. When you do that, you lift people out of poverty into the middle class, and you move yourself up the chain. And guess what? You go from being on welfare programs to sustainability, and that's what that's about. Dependence to independence.
We got Governor Jeff Landry on with us we got about 2 minutes left with the governor before we got to cut him loose. He's got a busy day today. RFK Jr. is coming to town. Big bill signing going on at Pennington. Governor, in these last 2 minutes, can I ask you a question about some of the other things that happened during the legislative session? Well,
sure.
first of all, have you been able to unpack everything yet? Because they got busy.
Oh, hello.
Yep, you still there?
Yep.
Okay.
What was that? I missed you for just a second.
All good. I said it's been a good 2 weeks since the session ended. Have you been able to unpack everything yet? Because they were busy this session. Have you been able to get through it all?
I think we've got through them all. I think we've really got through them all. We've gone through the budget, the supplemental bills, the capital outlay bills, and signed all of the bills that we're going to sign. And yeah, I think it was a very, very, very productive and historic session.
And last one before we get you out of here. As much as work got done on the insurance front, there was one big veto. Care to comment on what inspired you to, drop the hammer on that one?
Yeah, this is real simple. This was not a tort reform bill, Brian. I mean, look, we got to remember, Senator Seabaugh is a defense lawyer. He gets his paycheck from insurance companies. What we have seen during hurricanes is that there are insurance companies out there that don't pay their claim. Anytime you tinker with bad faith, you take away the rights of people to hold insurance companies accountable. So those insurance companies who are honest brokers, there's no need for this bill, on top of the fact that the bill was laden with ways that just basically gave the defense board more billable hours. I'm not interested in that. We're going to hold trial lawyers accountable and insurance companies accountable. It did nothing to lower rates. What is important for our citizens to remember is that all 7 of the issues that insurance companies said would affect rates, they said it in 2020. Them and the legislature went through a report. We've got that report. Said would equal up to about 10% of savings. We have checked all of those boxes now, Brian, and more. And so now it's time to watch the rates go down.
One of the things we saw from last year into this year, and I appreciate I'm keeping you a little bit longer than I promised. One of the things we saw from last year.
Listen, I'd love to stay with you.
I appreciate that. It's from last year to this year, we saw when it came to medical transparency, you didn't like what was presented last year, so you were able to rework for a more amenable bill this year. Are we looking at a similar situation with this veto to make it something more palatable for next year?
That's a great question. Look, I think that we can. I think that we should always be looking at ways under which the courts tell us that, hey, there's a defect in the law. And that's a great point that you made. Last year, I took a tremendous amount of criticism. Everybody was gaslighted over the veto on the medical transparency. But guess what? Today, we've got a bill that's 100% better. And so the thing of it is Louisiana wins when we look at how the LSU baseball team won, with grit, determination, discipline, and patience.
He is Governor Jeff Landry. I'll be seeing you. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be making out to Pennington for this one as well. So we'll see you out there, sir.
Okay, take care.
You do the same. We're at 8:16 at Talk 107.3 FM. Ran long right there. Quick break. We got Greg Upton coming up next. Yeah. Ah. There we go. 820 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP ran long right there with the governor. My apologies. We're trying to connect with Greg Upton from LSU right now. Want to talk a little bit about. I just texted you the number there, John. I think Greg was trying to call in while the governor was still on the hotline, so I think he was getting a busy signal. That's where we got jammed up right there. While I have a quick minute, let me remind you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. FlyBTR.com is the website. FlyBTR.com. Why FlyBTR? That's the top question, right? Well, let me give you a really, really good answer. Number one, convenience. It's right here in our own backyard. Number two, you're supporting a local business. It's right here in our own backyard. Number three, options. It's right here in our own backyard. And once you hop on flybtr.com, you can find out what those options are. In fact, there's a direct flight to Washington, D.C., leaves out 7:15 every morning, comes back in the evening. Unbelievably convenient, right into Reagan National Airport. If you got business in D.C., if you're planning on vacationing in D.C., they've got you covered, flybtr.com. But really, when you think about the overall experience, that's the best answer of why fly Baton Rouge. Why fly BTR? It's the overall experience. I mean, don't worry about paying for those exorbitant parking prices down the road. Hell, you can Uber there. It's a lot easier to get a friend to drop you off at the airport here than it is to drop you off at the airport down there. TSA, you don't have that maze. It's actually a pleasurable experience up here. Flybtr.com. Learn more about it there. All right. We've got to pivot and go back to what's going on the other side of the world. There's a ceasefire between Israel and Iran right now, but that doesn't mean we won't see the effects at the pump. We won't see the effects in the world of energy. Joining us now to talk about this from LSU, we've got Dr. Greg Upton on with us. Greg, how are you, man?
Good morning, Brian. Doing well.
Glad to have you on. Glad to be having this conversation, although I'm not really sure I'm going to like all the results of it. But tell us what the immediate ramifications are of what's going on the other side of the world.
Yeah, sure. So if you go back to the second week in June, oil prices were trading at around $65 a barrel. And according to our analysis, that is a kind of a good price that's going to balance supply and demand in the long run. In other words, the $65 a barrel range is likely what we were projecting we were going to see over the next few years. Then, of course, you have the conflict start escalating, the oil price starts creeping up, and over about a 2-week period, the price went from $65 a barrel to around $75 a barrel. So now rewind to last Friday, you remember, and this was before the Trump administration had decided to bomb the nuclear facilities in Iran. Mm-hmm. The price was at that $75 a barrel range, but markets were actually projecting, when you looked at the futures markets, that the price was going to come down back to about 65, 67 by the end of the year. And so it was kind of, the markets were telling you, hey, we'll kind of view this as a few month kind of impact on the price. Then, of course, we had the escalation over the weekend where you had the Trump administration bomb those nuclear facilities in Iran. Then Monday, you had further escalation before the ceasefire was announced. And so I was expecting coming into the beginning of the week for prices to creep up further, but that's actually not what happened. They stayed remarkably stable Monday morning when markets opened. And actually now they've dropped back to that $65 a barrel range. So kind of interesting, with ceasefire was, happened. and markets have kind of settled down, and prices are kind of where they were a few weeks ago before the conflict began.
I mean, is it as simple as that's the why? Is because of the ceasefire?
So I think it's a little bit more complex than that. A few things to keep in mind is that historically, when you had these geopolitical shocks, it had a pretty big impact on that global price.
Mm-hmm.
But over the last decade and a half, the U.S. has increased its oil production. You've had diversification of supply outside of the Middle East, and that has really reduced the size of the fluctuations that have happened with respect to these geopolitical shocks. And so, of course, we had the Russian invasion of Ukraine. That had an enormous impact on global prices, and that was a way bigger shock. But even when that occurred, the markets came into equilibrium and prices calmed down really, really rapidly after that, and I think more rapidly than a lot of experts had expected. And so on one hand, yes, the ceasefires probably helped, but on the other hand, I think markets are learning that it's not that these geopolitical shocks don't matter, and of course, from a humanitarian standpoint, terrible for the people that are dealing with that on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah.
But in terms of the effect on global oil markets, they're just not as large as they were 2 decades ago.
We're talking with Dr. Greg Upton about the ramifications of the battle between Israel and Iran. Greg, is it possible for us to produce enough domestically to where we would have a, I don't want to say like a permanent buffer, but to be able to just absorb this without it affecting? I mean, you said the prices have gone back down, but is it possible for us to produce enough domestically to where this isn't even a concern?
Well, I mean, we do. So we are a net exporter of oil.
Mm-hmm.
We're also a net exporter of refined products. We also export, natural gas in the form of liquefied natural gas. And so because of, again, this diversification of supply and our increase in supply, the size of these shocks is a lot smaller. But ultimately, it is a global market. And there's different oils that are traded because different refineries have different matches of the oil that they take. Whenever you have a supply shock in one region, of course, that's going to impact that global price. So the answer is kind of yes and no. In a way, the answer is yes, in that you're seeing the benefits of it already. But on the other hand, with the globally traded commodity, for any commodity, when you have a shock anywhere in the world, that can impact prices globally.
Let's talk about the futures end of this here, because it's a different angle in that the actions of today can affect the prices of the future, or the investment into the future, I guess I should say, when talking about the futures markets. Are there any long-term ramifications we're expecting here?
Yeah, there really are. So, in fact, just this morning, I read an article on China thinking about building a natural gas pipeline from Russia that's been discussed for many years. And that, pipeline has not been built. And now China's coming out saying, hey, well, maybe there's instability in the Middle East. Does that impact our decision in order to build that pipeline from Russia? It also impacts geopolitically, these multinational corporations, when they make investments in the energy sector, these investments pay off over decades. And so when you have geopolitical uncertainty in one region, that can really reduce the probability that the companies make the investment there. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a lot of what you've actually seen here in Louisiana. We've seen a lot of the export of natural gas in the form of liquefied natural gas. A lot of those investments that were made into those LNG export facilities, in my opinion, really were spurred by the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the uncertainty from there. So, yeah, these things definitely have an impact in the long term in where companies make investment decisions, and that can impact the global landscape for decades to come.
Is there any way to pull from the past to predict the future on because a ceasefire is a ceasefire, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be permanent. Is there any way to take what has happened in the past and pull comps to, give you a better guess of where we're going to be 6 months from now?
Yeah, so we do. We look at historically, there's a lot of analysis in the academic literature of thinking about, okay, you've got these supply shocks, you have these demand shocks. What is the responsiveness of that price to that? And what you find is that these shocks have had a lesser and less impact over time, which is good news for consumers and producers, by the way, that they don't deal with the volatility of that price.
Yeah.
So there is lesson to learn historically from that data. The other thing I look at is futures market. And, the price will a lot of times swing pretty rapidly. But when you look at the futures market a year out, perhaps a more interesting question to me is how much did markets adjust that futures price? And a lot of times what you see is that the futures price a year out really wasn't changed from a shock. But other times you see that the futures market really did change a year out. And to me, that's a really telling signal in terms of how much the market thinks that this is a long-term shock versus just a, kind of short-run shock that impacts us in the next weeks or months.
Are you able to pull that back into the day-to-day price at the pump? I mean, I know I'm asking a question that's kind of all over the map with that, but can we get it narrowed down that far?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So there are futures markets for gasoline as well. Typically, you need a few weeks of sustained price increase for the oil price that then translates into an increase in gasoline price that you see at the pump. And so, we saw this increase for a few weeks of that $10 a barrel. Could that translate into a few cents per gallon for consumers over a few weeks? Yeah, it could. But my guess is given what's going on right now, consumers aren't really going to notice a change in the gasoline price outside of the normal day-to-day fluctuation. Now, of course, if this further escalates and things change, that, of course, could be different. But right now, given what we've seen, consumers probably aren't going to notice much. And as you can see today, gasoline prices are still under $3 a gallon, which in an inflation-adjusted sense is a very, very, it's a low price.
Absolutely. So, I mean, the long and the short of it is we're in a decent spot right now. In spite of, in spite of what has transpired recently, we're in a decent spot.
Yeah, it's really again, I hate to say it because of the humanitarian piece of it and thinking about the people in Iran and Israel dealing with this on a daily basis. But in terms of the global oil market, that's absolutely correct. And I think the kind of story is look, when you expand supply of anything, that puts downward pressure on prices and also leads to more price stability for consumers. And that's what we've seen in the U.S. over the last decade.
He is Dr. Greg Upton from LSU, the executive director for the Center for Energy Studies. Dr. Upton, we always appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Anytime, Brian.
Thanks. Here's news. Made 10 minutes out of that when the news was there's no news. All right, Chef Kevin, let's get you rolling, man. We're going to stand for this. How you been? Met Brad. All right, what do we got here?
So this is some selections from our restaurant week menu.
Okay.
We have a watermelon salad.
When was we have another restaurant? Okay.
July. They're going to be in January and July.
Yeah, the January one was the last I'd heard of. I didn't know it was back. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Watermelon salad. This is pan-roasted fish. Today we have
Wahoo?
wahoo. Yep. With vegetable noodles, blistered tomatoes, lemon pepper beurre blanc. And then this is our pork and plums. So it's a pork porterhouse with a grilled and fresh plum salsa. It has some pears in it, some ginger, and then it's set over a bed of Israeli couscous with some vegetables in it, peas, carrots, a little bit of red quinoa.
Okay, so we don't have anything beef.
We do, but it's out there. It
Okay. We're going to talk about the beef, though.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll definitely talk about it.
All right.
We also have a lamb dish we'll talk about. But
Okay. Because the Beef Industry Council sponsors the segment.
Yeah, no, we'll
So,
definitely
all
talk
right.
about beef.
Oh, all good. All good. Okay. As long as it's what we're talking about on the air, we're golden.
Yeah,
So,
no, we're good.
we're going to talk about all of them.
We can
But,
definitely talk
yeah.
about beef.
Okay, cool. Let me get this photograph for John here. Brett, are you in on this as well, or is it okay? What's your title?
Director of Food and Beverage.
All right. That's gonna push me back over to Mike 2, John. Okay. And we're always on the Facebook Live, so.
Okay, gotcha.
All right.
Chef, give me. Hey guys.
By the way, just for the record.
Nice.
Do what?
Can I get a video
do that
of you
again?
doing
Yes.
that? Love it. That's awesome.
I have some reading glasses.
There you go.
Well, now you know your next one.
I know, right?
Yeah, and it says right across the bottom.
Yep. I stole some from Amy. Okay, I'm sure we can get you. Oh, that's right. Yeah. I don't need those yet. Sure, we can get you some of those. I got that umbrella. You want to do it live or you want to
Just play. Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, if there were like clouds rolling through right now, I would change it up live, but it's pretty static.
You hear the commercial?
No. Sorry.
It's a gambling addiction commercial. But no, so know the irony.
I saw the greatest TikTok the other day. There's two guys sitting at a table, and there's a cell phone on the table and two $100 bills, and the caption says, "Betting my friend that it's going to be a woman answers the gambling addiction hotline."
Yes. Sure enough.
And it was.
Yeah.
It
Get
was.
our money in, huh? That's funny.
That was so good.
The guy that wins is like, I'm good, but talk to my friend who makes bad bets.
Yeah, it works out really good. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, might be a little bit of relief on Monday, maybe. We have a Foodie Friday open, right? Okay, yeah. Not done just yet. 837 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. You know how we close out the week around here. Time for Foodie Friday. Oh, and we're going big today. We got the folks from the Queen in for Foodie Friday, presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. We got the Food and Beverage Director, Brad Johnson. We got Chef Kevin Foyle. Gentlemen, welcome aboard. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you all in today. We got a lot to talk about. Before we get into what we're doing today, let's talk a little bit about just the scene right now of what's going on at the Queen and what's to come in the fall.
Okay.
With the revamp of the property with the Bell and all that.
Yeah, so at the Queen right now, we've been open a little over a year now, working on improving the restaurants we have going, getting a good partnership going with the Bell. They're still a little ways away from getting open, looking like December like. Chef's kind of going back and forth. He's our area director,
right,
our area executive chef of those places. So working on both of them, kind of getting the idea of one and still working the other one. So he has a fun job. He has two operating things going on at one time.
No,
So-
I know, and that's got to put a lot. I mean, it's a short trip up River Road in between, but that
It
puts
is.
a lot under your purview there.
It does. Right now, 4 operational restaurants at the Queen, developing recipes and menus for 3 restaurants and a coffee shop at the Bell. So
The restaurants that are at the Queen, we're going to kind of focus on those since that's what's open and that's
Right,
what folks
for sure.
can take part in for right now. But for those that are unfamiliar, run down what you got under your roof over there.
All right, so we have our noodle bar, 3 Woks. It's open every evening, 4 p.m. We start. It's not a lunch spot, but we do dinner there. We have our coffee shop, Capital Coffee. It's open 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yep.
We have Big Chicken, which is our chicken franchise.
Yep.
It's open every day, and then we have 1717 Kitchen and Cocktails, which is our our flagship restaurant. And so we're revamping some summer hours on that one. We're going to be closed on Mondays, but open the rest of the week.
Kind of the 1717, kind of the crown jewel over there. That's the
Correct. Yeah.
So when you talk about managing menus and whatnot, Big Chicken remains static. I mean that's going to stay where it's at, right?
Right. That's a corporate franchise, so we follow their menu protocols and all of that.
So most of what we'll see when it comes to getting creative, stepping outside the box, that's going to happen at 1717.
Correct. Yeah.
That's where you get room to
17,
run and have a little fun.
For sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome stuff. We got Restaurant Week coming up. We got July is just around the corner. 4th of July is just around the corner. We'll have Restaurant Week there. What's going on over at the Queen for Restaurant Week?
So at Restaurant Week, we're doing a prefix menu, $55, 3 courses. So starter, entree, dessert, and we brought some samples for you guys.
Let's talk about it. What have we got going on over here?
All right. So on the table, we have our watermelon salad.
Yes.
John,
come grab the salad and show it off to Facebook.
It's, Louisiana watermelon, cucumber, avocado, a little bit of feta cheese. We do a honey lime vinaigrette on that, and then we top it with some pickled watermelon rind.
Very cool stuff. Up next, there's a fish dish here as well.
So that is our pan-roasted fish. Today we have wahoo, and that's served over vegetable noodles with blistered tomatoes.
Oh, what's a wahoo?
A wahoo is a fish. It's similar in size to a barracuda. Absolutely amazing, beautiful flaky white meat.
I had some at 8 this morning, and it was great.
Okay.
So any time of the day, it's wonderful.
I don't know that I've had wahoo before.
Well, you definitely have to try it.
Looking forward to it.
And then that's got a lemon caper beurre blanc. And then this dish here is our pork and plums.
Pork and plums.
So it's a pork porterhouse served over Israeli couscous, has a little bit of red quinoa, some vegetables in that, and then we top it with a grilled plum, fresh plum salsa with some ginger in it.
There's a lot of color on these plates, to be sure. It's a very visually appealing menu that you've got going on there.
People eat with their eyes first.
Well, that's exactly where I was going with that. How much of the emphasis in the preparation is based off of that?
For me, probably 50%.
Okay.
50% presentation, 50% flavors. It's got to work together. It can all look pretty, but if the flavors don't work together, then it's not gonna taste good. So it's got to be a balance there.
The of course, this is Foodie Friday presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. We're gonna get into the beef stuff a little bit later on in the segment, but I want to stick with what we're doing here for Restaurant Week as well. For folks that want to participate, it's just showing up and asking for it.
Yes, so it'll be served July 21st through the 26th.
Okay.
And we do take reservations, but they're not required. And the menu will be available. They can choose from our regular menu, or they can request the Restaurant Week menu.
Yeah, that's the beauty of a Restaurant Week is our chefs get to showcase what they do beyond the normal. And you get to people get to go to a lot of different places they never really experienced before, and you really get to showcase. So we're going to push that menu really hard, so we can showcase what Chef Kevin does, what his team is capable of, and enjoy a great time with our staff.
Well, and I might be misremembering this, but if I'm not mistaken, the last time we had you on, there was something that started at Restaurant Week that ended up making the permanent menu.
We have a couple of items, yeah.
Okay.
So we have a pork belly dish that's on the menu now that was at Restaurant Week. It is it's a slow roasted and then crispy pork belly, and we serve that with some Thai glazed green beans. That one made the menu. And then we have a New York strip that we do that has a really nice chimichurri, and that comes with some garlic parmesan gnocchi.
Let's talk about this pork and plum. You said.
Yep.
You said porterhouse.
Yes.
Do cuts of pork match up the same way as cuts of beef? I mean, do we have
some of them
similar names for them, or?
I mean, yeah, I think the porterhouse is more of a, it's just let's sell it as a porterhouse from the vendors, because they want to. It's just something new. It sounds good. Porterhouse means you've got that nice hunk of meat, and it's just a T-bone with a bigger piece of the fillet, which in a pork is going to be the tenderloin.
Okay. So where at on the pig is that?
So that comes from the back. It's like the loin and then the tenderloin.
Mm-hmm. The sauce, the plum that goes on top of this. Yep. Break down that recipe and how you brought it all together.
So fresh plums, slice them, season them up, a little salt and pepper, some oil, put them on the grill, get a nice char on them. It softens them up a little bit, enhances the flavor. Dice those up, mix them with some fresh plums that haven't been grilled. I've got a little bit of green pear, a little red pear, fresh ginger, fresh garlic, a little apple cider vinegar.
From a chef's perspective, I mean, when you're going at different kinds of meat, when you're going at different, like whether you're talking about beef, we're talking about pork, talking about chicken, you've got different protein breakdowns, different like levels of toughness or softness.
Right.
And how does that affect your approach? And I want some some tips of the trade here.
Right.
How does that affect your approach for what you put into what you put on it?
Well, it's got to match.
Yeah.
If you've got a really tender piece of meat, you don't want to overpower it with a whole lot of extra flavor.
Right.
So filet mignon, for instance, don't do a lot with it.
Salt,
little pepper, sear it off, enjoy it.
Yes.
Pork's a much milder flavor, so it allows for a little more flavorful oomph whenever you want to pair that.
How much room do you have to run when it comes to like in the way that you're preparing it? And when I say room to run, I mean like how much leeway does the food give you, whether you're cooking over an open flame, like let's say somebody's grilling next Friday for the 4th of July, cooking over an open flame versus putting it in the oven, like the meat's going to react differently to how it receives it.
Right. So when you're on a grill, you've got a higher heat, so you have to be careful with some of the more tender meats, some of the less flavorful, but more mild flavored meats.
Okay.
So because that char gives it a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
And so you want to be careful with that, not to burn it. So start it off on the high heat, get a nice little sear, some color to it, and then move it away from the flame and let it finish nice and slow. In the oven, you just don't get that initial char, and you'll just have an even cook all the way through.
Same question, but about the fish instead. I mean, is that a lot more? Is it a lot less forgiving?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, fish dries out so quick. That nice thick cut of wahoo, I seared it off in a saute pan in some roasted garlic oil. I got both sides nice and crispy. Stuck it in the oven for 5 minutes. If you go too much longer than that, it gets really dry and tough to eat.
Well, and that's just a general guideline with fish right there.
For sure.
Undercook as opposed to overcook.
Yeah,
just about always.
It'll finish cooking on the way to the table generally.
Absolutely. Brad, let's bring you in on this end as well. When it comes to something like Restaurant Week, what level of prep goes in overall? I mean, before it gets to Chef Kevin, overall, what level of prep goes in? How much do y'all have to put in on this?
So yeah, it takes a lot. We're looking into, we know when these are coming around. We do it January and July. So Chef, we know a good amount of time ahead. So we're thinking, okay, what's in season right now? What's going on? And then Chef gets that menu out months ahead of time to us, and then goes into teaching the staff what's in these menu items. This isn't just a normal thing we're doing every day. This is something special. So getting them excited about what we're serving to the guests and the experience that they're going to have. So
with the number of different properties under one roof, with the number of different options under one roof, what does that add to your workload?
Yeah, it adds a lot. It's making sure that every outlet, we have all those outlets, so it's teaching those outlets different things, and then it's almost like having a whole nother restaurant in the middle of what's going on already. You have your normal routine, so it's adds work, but I enjoy what I do, and so it's a lot of fun to get those things done.
This is Foodie Friday as part of Mornings with Brian Haldane. Foodie Friday presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. We've got about 2 minutes until break. Let's talk about beef and what we're going to be sampling here in just a little bit.
So we've got a fairly new cut to me. It's called sirloin flat.
Sirloin flap.
Sirloin flap. So it's a thinner piece, comes off of the outer portion of the sirloin. Really tender, similar to say like a flank steak or a skirt steak. Quick cook, rare, mid-rare is probably the best way to eat it. Slice it across the grain.
Okay.
And it absorbs flavors like crazy. So what we're doing with it for restaurant week is we're doing a Polynesian marinade. Teriyaki, pineapple juice, soy. And what happens is we put it in there for at least 24 hours, and then those sugars put a really nice char on the outside of that piece of meat, and it just adds another layer of flavor.
So when it comes to like a filet or a ribeye, I'm not doing anything but salt and pepper. Once you get past those two cuts of meat, how much does it open things up to be able to, experiment a little bit, try something new, try to add different flavors to the beef?
Oh, well, it's, again, some of the thinner cuts of meat take flavors really well, and you got to cook them quick.
Yeah.
So you need something other than just salt and pepper, or you need a good sauce with them. Like a chimichurri is probably one of my favorite sauces. Just herbs, onion, garlic, vinegar, blend all that up together.
You said it's got to cook quick. You know what? We got a break. We'll pick this up on the back end. On air, you're going to get your money now. You're going to check a traffic on Facebook Live. We're digging in and tasting everything. We got the folks from the Queen in here for Foodie Friday. She was late. I was right on time. Awesome. All right. What am I trying first here? I need a fork.
You want to try it here? I got some pans out there. We can.
I'll just try it here. It's fine.
Okay. Got some forks and stuff out there. I would start with a salad. Pickled watermelon rind.
Pickled watermelon rind.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever had it.
I have not. The rind.
So that's the long strips. I would
Okay.
say just pick one of those up and try it by itself, and then try the rest of the salad.
Okay.
So it's feta cheese, has a little bit of avocado in there, cucumbers.
Okay, I'm filming you.
All right, just for the rind. Oh, it's pickled.
It's pickled. Yeah.
Holy crap!
Product utilization.
Very, very much so. But that's not what I was expecting, though. Because there's a bitterness to the rind in itself. Goes away.
It does.
Goes away quickly. All right. Let me get it on everything here. Where's the avocado at?
There's a piece kind of right here on the side.
There it is. That little feta.
A lot of feta.
Yeah. I love feta. Oh, God. Good. That's not how I was expecting it to go. I was expecting it to be feta in your face right there. The watermelon. Boom.
Yeah, the
watermelon
watermelon's the show.
explodes. Holy crap. Yeah. Guys, you're going to want to hit a restaurant week just for that. I don't even need the rest of this. Just that alone. The way that watermelon explodes and then allows all the other, that smoothness of the avocado underneath. The feta hits you on the back end. The pickled rind hits you on the back end as well. But it's right out the blocks with the watermelon. That is unbelievable.
And I mean, it's got to be the star of the show.
Yes. And Louisiana watermelon.
In Louisiana, you got to have watermelon, and everything in there complements it really well.
Yeah, it does. It's very, very. It's all complimentary. It doesn't. Oh, thank you. Ooh. Okay.
So first time on this one, right?
Yes, I've never had wahoo before. Oh, look at that. It's a very, very bright white on the inside.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, I want to make sure I sauce that up a little bit on the bottom there.
This was my favorite dish.
Yeah, was with the vegetable noodles there.
Yeah, I really love
And that's what, little tomato, little Creole tomato you said?
It's just a blistered tomato.
Okay.
So what we do is just we roast garlic by 5-10 pounds at a time. And the oil that we roasted in, we pull off, and we use that to cook into flavor. So put some of that olive oil in the pan, throw those sliced tomatoes in there at a real high heat, and they kind of get a blister on them, kind of sears those skins a little bit, just intensifies the tomato flavor.
Has caper on top?
It does. It's a lemon caper bourboulon.
So the lemon's definitely in the background there. Obviously, the acidity of the lemon mixes well to not make the fish fishy.
Right.
Is this a fishy fish without it?
No, it's really not.
Because it's a meaty fish.
Yeah, it's very
to be
meaty.
sure.
It's hearty.
Yeah, that is. I'm trying to describe how, because the way everything just soaks through the noodles, the vegetable noodles there, it absorbs it to where it's all like when I bit into the watermelon punches that everything hits you at once with this one.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, they're very, very smooth, very, very. It's just a touch of sweetness on it. It's just a little bit of sweet. What's that one? What's that coming from?
A little bit of white wine. The carrots have a little bit of sweetness in them generally.
Okay.
So it's fresh carrot, zucchini, yellow squash. Slice those really thin.
It's amazing the sugars that come out of things you wouldn't expect the sugars to come out.
Exactly.
Carrots,
Exactly. That's what.
wine. That's why you use those.
But to pair like that, have that touch of sweet on the back end of fish, and it's fish that it's a heartier, meatier fish. That pairs very, very well as well. All right. Give me that pork. Yeah. Look at that. John, you showed this one off already? Okay. I want to make sure.
Yeah, I passed them all over.
Because this is a work of art right here. This is the one that you got to hesitate before cutting into because that is beautiful.
Yeah. You want a pocket knife to cut her
up?
I don't know how that would be. Oh, yeah. That's
I would say it should be fairly tender.
That's the porterhouse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that tenderloin side right there.
Yep. It's going right through. Problem, you got so much of the plum and strawberry on top of it there. I can't see what I'm doing underneath. It's covered. There we go. All right, we're good.
Brad got a little carried away plating that one.
No, look, it came out gorgeous. The colors are all there. So I see the plum, I see the strawberry. What was the green?
Pears.
Pears.
So I have green pears and red pears in there.
Tell you what I'm gonna do. I want to
Little
try
honey,
just
little
the
apple
topping
cider
first.
vinegar.
Try just that all the fruits that are on top first. Oh wow. The three of them combined, gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. All right, pork, let's go.
There it is.
That's why I do what I do. That face right there.
The kiss of the flame on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get excited when you see a good cut of meat with those little chars on it. You know in your taste buds ahead of time, like, oh, that's what that's going to taste like.
Yeah.
It's going to be perfect.
So when I hear plum, I hear strawberry, I'm thinking more tart.
Mm-hmm.
That's not that.
No, when you grill those plums, it gives it some sweet. It pulls the sugars out again.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of touch of honey in there, just to kind of mellow it even more.
Okay. And then you got the couscous on the bottom.
Yep.
Try that on its own. Yeah, I'm here. Hang on. I'm busy, y'all. 8:56 to Talk 107.3 FM. We got a couple minutes left with Chef Kevin and Brad from over at the Queen. They brought in too much. I wasn't able to get to everything during the break. I tell you what, I'm going to hold off on that until we're done with the segment. Chef Kevin, let's talk about everything that just went down.
Okay.
I want to start with the watermelon salad.
Please.
This is worth the price of admission right here. Like the watermelon salad, as soon as I've been into it, I was expecting feta cheese to be in my face. I was expecting that to rule the day. No, sir.
Not at
the
all.
watermelon, at the moment it's in your mouth, the watermelon explodes on you with flavor. The flavor, and it's a Louisiana watermelon, which I'm always partial to Louisiana products.
Absolutely.
We have better fruit than anybody in the world. Strawberries, watermelon, whatever. We grow it better here. And it shows up. It shows up in a big way. Talk to me about how that came together to give all those flavors.
I like everything in it, and I've said, why not give it a shot?
Mm-hmm.
And, played around with it a little bit. And I think the honey lime vinaigrette kind of brings it all together and prevents any one item from being overpowering.
Yeah.
So you've got that fresh watermelon with all of those wonderful sugars. Then you have the citrus of the lime. Cucumbers are always good.
Yeah.
And then that feta just kind of smooths it out. The feta and the avocado work to kind of smooth it out with their textures.
And the
saltiness of the feta helps too.
Yeah, and then the pickled flavor from the pickled watermelon rind within that.
Right.
I wasn't expecting that. That's amazing.
It's really good. Yeah, I can't stop making them now that I started it. I'm like, I gotta have those.
This is one that once that's not a secret. Once that cat's out of the bag, that's got to be a summertime favorite. I mean, watermelons are summertime anyway, but it's light, it's refreshing, and it just punches you with flavor. Moving over to the wahoo, not a fishy fish, a very meaty fish
for sure. Yeah.
But when you add those vegetable noodles underneath, the vegetable noodles soak up all of the flavor of everything that you put on top of the fish to begin with.
Right. Yeah. So we the fish we just seasoned a little bit of salt and pepper, and then the noodles, blistered tomatoes, a little bit of white wine, lemon juice, capers, and then we kind of put some butter in it to smooth it out and make that beurre blanc. And then those noodles absorb all of that.
And then somehow it pulled a little sweetness out of between the vegetables that make up the noodles. It pulled a little sweetness out of there for a nice added touch. I want to get to the beef in a second, but a quick mention of this pork porterhouse here. The way these flavors blend together as well. You have that kiss of the flame that's on top of the pork. I don't know what it is about when flame hits pork that makes it just it changes not just the texture, but it changes the way it hits your palate as well. But putting these three fruits together in on top of it, just adds so much to it.
I'm a big fan of fruit salsas and compotes and things like that. And it's summer. You got to have fresh. You got to have flavor.
Yeah.
And it's fruit time.
Yeah.
And so when you can get the best flavors, you might as well use them while you got them.
Okay, stick around on Facebook Live. We're going to dive into what we got with the sirloin flap over there as well on air. We got to get out of here. Moon's coming your way next. Once again, Facebook Live, stick around. All right, we're going to keep going for a couple more minutes here. Normally we're done by now, but
okay.
y'all brought way too much. It's so good. Love it. John, you want to give them a quick view of that real quick? I know it's
apologize for the plating.
they didn't they put all the pretty into the other ones. This one is
this was a tasting only, but just to look at.
More utilitarian, but just to give y'all a quick view of what's going down here.
To me, with beef, the best flavorful ones are like the cheap cuts of meat.
Well, yeah, they've got the muscles are used more. They've got more flavor to them.
As a culinary person, you can do a ton to it.
I'm not even cutting. I'm just pulling it apart.
Just pull it apart.
It's literally, y'all, not cutting. I'm just pulling apart.
With that, when you cut across the grain like that, it should melt in your mouth.
All right.
So the rice it's jasmine rice, a little bit of coconut milk, cilantro, some chili pepper.
Okay.
So I cook it in the coconut milk instead of you mix coconut milk and water, and that's how you cook the rice, and it pulls that flavor into it.
Is there cilantro in there?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Little cilantro, a little chili pepper, a little bit of lime juice.
I definitely have the lime juice for sure. Yeah. The coconut milk. I'm not familiar. I don't use coconut milk. What am I looking for within here? That
Just
I'm
a little subtle flavor of coconut is all it's going to give it.
Okay.
It's more of the aroma that you'll get off of the coconut milk, and then a touch of flavor, not overpowering.
Just for the sirloin flap. Underrated cut of meat.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, very, very tender. A lot more tender than I was expecting.
Yeah.
It's like the picanha,
Yeah, very similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good comp.
It's an underrated meat.
And, when you get a skirt steak, it's got that skin on both sides that you peel off.
Yeah.
Sirloin flap's very similar. It's got that silver skin that separates the muscle groups.
Mm-hmm.
So we peel that off of both sides.
And you said you got to go quick with this. So time and temp wise, what are we looking at?
I put it on the grill, so I think I did 3 minutes per side.
Okay.
Just to get it to a nice medium rare because it is a thinner piece of meat.
Okay.
And then pull it off, let it rest for a few minutes. I sliced it up for y'all.
The flavor within this is amazing as well. Tell me one more time about what went into the marinade.
So it's kind of a teriyaki pineapple.
Yes.
Hawaiian steak kind of deal. So soy, a little bit of brown sugar, pineapple juice, a little bit of chili powder, a little bit of chili flakes.
Okay.
So not much heat, but a little bit, but more of the citrus and the teriyaki.
And so
style.
you get the with the citrus, you're getting a little breakdown within the meat itself.
Right, it'll help.
Right,
that's what that marinade process does.
Absolutely. On the teriyaki end, that's the flavor that hits first.
Yeah.
That's definitely what I noticed first. But you're not detracting from the flavor of the beef either. It's maintaining its own identity.
Yeah. Well, if you marinate it for too long, it'll the meat will get mushy.
Okay.
So it'll break down those muscle groups too much.
So about how long?
I do about 24 hours. I wouldn't go more than probably that, honestly.
Yeah.
You start hitting 36 hours, and the muscle fibers just start to turn to mush, and then when you cook it, you're going to immediately hate the mouthfeel.
So good at your house. Prep it the night before you go to bed, and that evening.
Now, when it comes to different, especially with beef, I love my immersion circulator.
Mm-hmm.
Is this one that would go in that as kind of a cheat code to make sure it stays tender?
That's an excellent question.
Thank you.
You can cook just about anything in an immersion circulator.
Yeah, I do.
My concern with it though is again the texture. If it's in there for too long,
Okay.
you know, if you were going to do it at one,
Marinade plus immersion circulator, I'm overdoing it.
You're going to
Okay,
overdo
I see where you're at now.
overdo the tenderization. Yes.
Well, it is phenomenal. It's an unbelievable product. You have yet to miss. You're batting 1,000. This
Thank
is
you.
awesome. Restaurant Week coming up towards the end of July. Go see our friends over at 1717 and the Queen, and then we got to get you back on when it's time to open up on
For
this
sure.
side of downtown
Yeah,
too.
for sure.
So absolutely,
Excited
Chef
to be back.
Kevin, Brad, thank you all so much
Thank
for
you.
a couple minutes this morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys, we're out of here for the weekend. Short week next week with the 4th of July, but we'll be back at it on Monday nonetheless.